Welcome back to Truth Quest. My name is Aaron Moriarity. I will be your host, and we're going to go on a quest for truth together. Yes, friends, we certainly are. And today we're going to talk again about full disclosure. And that's not partial disclosure. That's not like a limited hangout like they're trying to give us here. It's actually full disclosure, which means everything, okay? Everything. I'm going to put the link in the chat. And so let's see. Yes, that's what we'll do. I hope you're all doing well. I'm doing very well myself. This report on UFOs coming out this next month is something else, you know. I don't know. What do you folks think? Do you think that, here's the link. Do you think we're going to get some real information, folks, or do you think it's just going to be a nothing burger? Like seems to be what we always get. The UFO community or the UAP community, the UAP, you know, the rebranding, you know, they did that for a reason. It's so funny to watch them roll this out now. When we know so much, they're trying to, it's pretty pathetic. They're handing out wooden nickels when we know they have bars of gold, okay? That's just the way I see it. So feel free to dial in there and let me know if that link works. So let's see. Let's check and see if we have anyone here. Oh, we had someone, but they dropped out. So if you want to dial in, feel free to do so, and we can get this conversation started. Now, the kind of disclosure I want to hear is things like, okay, we're going to come clean, we being NASA, the secret government, the people that are rolling this out. Okay, folks, we're really sorry that we had to keep this secret so long. The reason we kept it secret was A, B, and C. But now we're going to be telling you everything. This is what should be happening. I mean, my goodness, after 70 years, I mean, or more, okay, they got the first downed craft that I know of that the US government got was in 1942 at the Battle of LA. And so they got a lot of catching up to do as far as telling us what they've done. Okay, and releasing the technologies that got them there so that we can advance our whole society and live in that Star Trek lifestyle, which right now only the secret space program elites get to enjoy. I'm sure the plebes are just, you know, slave labor, like some whistleblowers have said. Now, whether you believe the whistleblowers or not, it's my belief that there's been ample time since 1969, our first landing on the moon, to 2021. That's a long time. How much development has been done that they haven't told us about? Well, everything. And that's what we want. We want everything, including the crimes against humanity that these people have perpetrated in the galactic slave trade that's allegedly going on, which I find it very easy to believe since it's happening here on the surface and below our surface as well. So, so just saying, oh yeah, here's some fuzzy footage. We've finally released this fuzzy footage. We don't know what it is, but it's defying the laws of physics. Oh, let's talk about that for 50 more years. No, I'm sorry, but that's just not going to cut it. It's not going to cut it. Too little, too late. We need full disclosure. That means everything. The good, bad, and the ugly. All of it. All of it. Um, we're also going to be talking about time travel. As you may know, we do a show every Sunday with Andrew D. Bishago, who is really the person who talks the most about time travel, and he's experienced several different types of it in various DARPA programs, from Project Pegasus as a youth to Project Mars when he was older, college age. So the time travel he has experienced, he talks about in great detail, is of great help to us trying to imagine what has been developed in secret with our money, and someone else is reaping all the benefits and, being able to go off planet, which, by now we should all be able to go off planet. It should be an option. Okay, do you want to go to Europe for vacation, or should we go to the moon? Okay, let's go to the moon. Well, let's go to one of the space stations between here and the moon. Those should be options. It's 2021, folks. This is supposed to be the future. We're living in the future. So don't be distracted by the mainstream media that just tries to make you think about things that don't make any sense or don't matter. Keep your eye on the prize. We need to get this information out so we can get this thing rolling. It looks like we got our caller, Jake Waters, is back. And so let's see what he has to say. Welcome, Mr. Waters. How are you doing today?
Not too bad, Aaron. How are you doing?
Well, if I was doing any better, I'd be you as usual.
So I don't believe that, but you seem to be doing well yourself.
Well, I woke up this morning, albeit to the sound of pounding hammers. My neighbor's building a garage. And he seems to think that very early in the morning is a really good time to do that. So
that's always the best time.
Yeah, I guess so. But so other than that, everything's going quite well. Yes. And I had the pleasure of watching your show, Mr. Waters, with my friend Miguel Pena. Is that how you pronounce his last name? I always forget how to pronounce his last name.
Yeah, he's I guess he's going by Michael. But I've been trying to start up some sort of podcast where basically I just like interviewing people, and I like hearing their stories and what they have to talk about. And Michael's got a lot to talk about, and I like hearing his views on things. It was interesting.
Yeah, he does. He's got a very good perspective on a lot of things, for sure. And he's, well-versed in the Bible, it seems.
Yes.
He knows a lot about the Bible.
Yeah, so he was actually able to explain a lot of things on our podcast that I've never heard a lot of other people that consider themselves Christians be able to explain.
Yeah.
And he verbalized it very well, and I just I thought it was very interesting. So for today's podcast, you had me at time travel, so I was interested in talking about some time travel if you guys had anything on the plate.
Yeah, well, did you see my episode with Rat X and 1010 a while back?
I don't know if I did.
So Rat X is the ultra neutral. He's got this channel where he talks about how he thinks that there was a time hack in 1972, and that all these things happened in 1972 that affected 2020. And so he was, talking about he'd like to come on and maybe discuss this with one of his detractors, someone who says, well, because one of the things that ended in 1972 was the moon landings. Well, this gentleman said, well, we didn't go to the moon. He thinks that we didn't go to the moon. So then he can't grasp what Radix was saying was, it doesn't matter if we went to the moon or not. It's just that they said publicly they stopped in 72. So it made it on his list of things that happened in 1972. But so this guy wants to argue the moon thing. But I think that faked moon landing it's a convenient psyop to get people arguing about something that doesn't really matter, like flat Earth. It doesn't really matter, but it's people get all emotional, and they don't want to be wrong. And the thing is, none of us has every answer. So
yeah, it's stranger that they would come out to the conclusion that they were right more than anything, with nobody really having a total grasp on what we've done on the moon, or the full aspect of it. Mm-hmm. I mean, of course, the Kubrick film kind of confused people, but it doesn't diminish anything that our astronauts did.
Right, exactly. And they just shot that footage just in case the cameras didn't work, because they were given these experimental cameras, these prototype cameras to these astronauts. Well, they're not photographers, right? And they thought, well, if we're going to do this historical event and it comes off and we can't get pictures because the camera broke, or the astronaut dropped it and the lens popped out or something, like on Gilligan's Island, they wanted to have a backup. So they did that. They did all these pictures. Speaking of time travel, dinosaurs, they lived a long time ago, right? And we've been digging up their bones for a long time, right? So I came across something today, and it was just kind of interesting. And I just want to show this to you. It's pretty funny, actually. Where did it go? Okay, it's not coming up for some reason. Will it come up? Looks like it's gonna, but I don't know. Something's wrong with my confuser here. It's not. And maybe Radx might be calling in, so we gotta watch out for that. It's not coming up for some reason. I clicked on it, but it's not opening up. I don't know what the deal is. Okay, maybe it will now. Well, it's not coming up. I guess I can't do a screen share. But, oh, here it is. As soon as I say it's not there, it comes up. All right. So I'm sure everyone's familiar with the Far Side comics, right? Mm-hmm. So here's a comic that Gary Larson of the Far Side drew some years ago, and it's a caveman with a diagram of a dinosaur with the big spikes, and now this end is called the Thagomizer, after the late Thag Simmons. Okay. Well, it turns out that these parts of the dinosaur were never named before. So they just took that name and said, hey, let's use that. That's funny. You see how even a cartoon can affect something, like naming a dinosaur part. That's pretty interesting, isn't it? I don't know.
It's funny that they just ran with that name.
Isn't that hilarious? I think that's pretty darn cool. Yeah, so now tell our folks here what is the name of your channel so they can go check out the show with Michael.
I believe it's my name. It's just Jacob Waters is the name of the YouTube channel. I try not to hide anything about myself. It's just kind of open. Anybody can go check it out. And yeah, it's just Jacob Waters on YouTube. You should be able to find it.
Jacob Waters. The waters are flowing.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, that was
No,
good.
I always had a ongoing joke with my family that we were going to name our first kid Magic. I always thought that would be fun.
Magic waters.
Magic Waters.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, have you ever looked to the origin of your name, and what the origin of that was?
Yeah, I believe it has some Native American in it, and then
Wow.
also some European as well.
Okay.
But most of it, I believe, the stronger side is Native American.
Interesting. Well, that's cool. That's cool. You know, everybody wants to be Native American. I mean, it's something everyone wants. A lot of people identify with the American Indian identity. You know, they'll buy Indian things and decorate their house, and I think because I think the idea of the American Indian is like the ultimate freedom. I mean, they're roaming around, they're just living off the land, and they're being kind and gentle to the land. I just think there's something very appealing about that. People really latch onto that.
Yeah, I had a buddy in high school that was 50% Native American, and that was one of his pickup lines to the girls is that our kids could go to college for free.
Oh my gosh, really?
I just thought it was clever. Made me laugh.
That is funny. Yeah. Whenever a woman asks me if I'm single, I say, well, I wasn't born a twin. And then they walk away. I don't know why, but they always kind of walk away. Oh, well, that's okay. Let's get over here to the chat and see what's going on over here. Celestial Soul. Hello, Celestial Soul. Good evening. Thank you. I'm glad that you're here. UFO Pirate 17. We are so here. Ready for the truth. Yes, we are literally the news, and truth will be vindicated soon. Yes, this whole idea that they can just drip out this UFO and alien stuff. It's like cracking open Pandora's box. You can't just crack it open. It's going to fly open, and all the stuff's going to come out. So they're trying to crack it open and take only a few things out of it, but there are just too many people that know too much now. I mean, don't you think, Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on right now with everybody with all the news that's getting ready to come out. It looks like Stephen Greer's doing interviews now. Bob Lazar's doing new interviews now. All of the people that have been tied to the UFO conspiracy for the last few years have started to throw their hats into the ring with at least being involved in some of the disclosure.
Yeah, well, I think it's more like the deep state assets have been activated to roll out an extremely limited disclosure. And also, I think just in case this report has some eye-opening revelations, which it might, because Trump initiated it, it might be it might have something in it. And in that case, the other reason that they have these implanted people who are always there in this field is so they can do damage control. Well, the report says this, but I don't think so because I've been a ufologist for X amount of years. And I think that's one of their primary functions is to do things like that, to disrupt any effort of getting this information out.
Yeah, by using their merit and saying that they must be right.
Yeah. It's ridiculous, but you can always tell these deep state assets because they're the ones that are always on TV. They're the ones that are always, whenever there's an article about a UFO, they're the ones they talk to. And, in most cases, they maybe have written 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 books, but, you don't make a lot of money on books. I mean, the publisher makes all the money. So how are these people paying their bills? I mean, someone's paying them.
Oh, yeah.
The Rockefeller Group?
Well, I mean, I don't know who's paying the History Channel to put all these series on, but they are definitely devoting, whether it's UFO hunters or whether it's ancient aliens, it's definitely dove off into a path of they're just telling stories now, and they're repeating and they overlap each other, and it hasn't really stayed consistent in some time.
Yeah. Yeah, we've and especially those of us who have actually seen a UFO or several UFOs, it's just ridiculous that they keep this going. I mean, it's going to backfire on them, because, well, it already has, because people are tuning out of the mainstream media and they're tuning into the alternative media, like the people watching here today. We got 12 people so far, and that's a pretty good number. So if we all share it out, maybe we can get more people. But I'm glad that you're all here, and I really appreciate it. It's a spur of the moment show. I do these all the time. I don't know when I'm going to do them. I just boom, all of a sudden we're doing it. And so yeah, that's the way that goes. So thank you all for being here, and thank you for keeping it nice and chill in the chat. Thank you very much. You guys rock. And thank you, Jake Waters, for calling in, being my first guest today.
Aaron, I was going to say, I think our Cloaked Unseen World posted a UFO video today, or within the last 24 hours.
I missed that. I think
it's one he personally recorded. It's about a 4.5-minute video.
Okay.
So if anybody gets a chance.
Yeah, go check out our Cloaked Unseen World and check out what Ryan put up there. I'll have to check that a little later too. All righty then. So, and time travel. My friend Radex thinks that there was a time hack. He's not sure who did the time hack, or, it's hard to say if there really was. But according to Andrew, you can't go back in time and change something. But if extraterrestrials are doing it, maybe they can. I don't know. I just don't know.
A lot of the stories that we've heard in the past, it seems like, have been about people traveling to the future and trying to adjust the timeline. I've heard, I don't know if it was John Q or who it was that supposedly traveled forward in time and affected the Y2K bug.
John Titor?
Yeah, John Titor.
Yeah.
Or I don't know if he traveled back or forward because he had met himself in Florida or something when he was younger. But they said that he was originally sent on a mission to correct the problem with the Y2K bug, and our computer's not. So I wonder if that was like a time hack in that sense. I've heard that.
I don't know. I remember that guy, and boy, gosh, I just, as open-minded as I am and want to be, I couldn't get that one. That one, it just didn't seem. If I'm remembering correctly, a lot of the things he predicted did not come true.
No.
Oh, maybe that's another timeline. That could be, like Andrew experienced that. That's a possibility. But I don't know. And they show that little machine. It doesn't really look like a time. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of funny. I didn't get a good feeling from that. So I go with I sometimes use, check my gut and see what I'm thinking about something. And a lot of times I'm right. Not always, but most of the time. So I don't know. He hasn't resurfaced or anything, has he, that I know of?
Well, he's done multiple interviews, but it seemed like a different person every time. And so with that being said, and plus seeing the flux capacitor in the back of the Pinto, I don't necessarily know if those are credible evidence by any means.
Yeah, there's something about that. It just seems a little off. Just a little bit off.
The only thing about the story that was really interesting was the going back in time and getting some part from an old Mac computer.
No, I
And
think
then
it was
eventually a Mac computer designer said that they verified that that part was in the computer at that time and they stopped using them or something.
I think it was. It wasn't a Mac. It was some other kind of computer, a PC or something.
Oh, okay.
Commodore.
I remember that was the only like legitimate part of the story I ever heard. Everything else about it was just holes and misunderstanding.
Yeah, and there's that video place that makes videos, and somehow they've got all these people who are time travelers, and they have fuzzy pictures from the future they show, and yeah, I can't remember the name of that. It starts with an A, I think. But yeah, kind of clickbaity. Now, a guy like Andrew, with all the details he puts into everything, that's a different story. You can't just brush that one off. There's just too much there. All the other people, Bernie Mendez, man, it just sounds like it did really happen. In the last show, he described, I don't know if you heard it or not, but he was talking about the 8-sided bismuth crystal that would propagate the chronovisor image of a past event into the lab so you could immerse yourself into it like a holographic image. That if you were in it longer than 15 minutes, you were in that past event. But I was always envisioning this little 8-sided crystal in the ceiling, but he said it was like a large kind of ornate, complex looking chandelier, because bismuth is like a metal. So when it's like a crystal, when it's crystallized, it's not see-through, but it's reflective. So if it's 8-sided and it's reflecting on all sides, then the rest of the chandelier could take that information and coagulate it down into some kind of projection. Been thinking about that. Very interesting. Some kind of time chandelier. Very weird. Strange, but interesting. It's always, he's been doing this for what, 15 years, and he's still, every time I talk to him, he's got more information, some little nuance that he hasn't shared before. So that's pretty cool.
It makes me wonder how much he's holding back and how he brings it forward, that knowledge that he has. I don't know if it starts with just like a dream and then it develops into something more like, oh, wait a minute, I remember this, or, how those thoughts develop, or if it's just, something that he remembered from the beginning. Right.
Yeah. Well, he said, I remember him saying that when he was in the programs, they said, okay, now we're going to wipe your mind. And he would, say to himself, I'm going to remember. And, so he did remember some of it that way, just through sheer will of wanting to remember.
But yeah, you'd assume that wiping process did something, and I mean, it seems like he had a several amount of years where he had to wait to get that memory back.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder, wonder how that occurred to him again once he was able to retrieve it.
Mm-hmm. I'm just sharing this out. So if you all watching right now can share it out as well. I'm sharing it to my Facebook page. And
I'll share it as we get off. I just can't do it while we're doing it because it'll kind of slow down the stream. And
no worries. And okay, I sent invitations out to some people too. Okay, we'll see if they show up. And if they don't, that's okay too. Let's see. Celestial Soul says, your shows are a breath of fresh air, always interesting and comforting to be with like-minded. I learned so much here. Well, thank you, Celestial Soul. That was very nice. Connor McIntosh, bismuth is a metal. Curious if magnetizing it would bend light. Yeah, interesting. That is, it's You know, that eight-sided bismuth crystal that, Andrew's been talking about for so many years. After he had been talking about it for quite a while, as many people who watch this program know, a researcher dug into old patents and found his dad's name being referenced about the eight-sided bismuth crystal in a patent from a Japanese gentleman. And so there's proof that his dad was involved with something to do with an eight-sided bismuth crystal. So, another verification of his story. Usually if it's a false story and researchers dig into it, they can find the falsities. But his story, they just find that he was telling the truth. So very, very, very interesting. Interesting indeed. So Jake, what do you think? What do you wish that they would come out with for this disclosure?
I mean, anything more than like what we've talked about before, anything more than water on Mars, or just something significant. Give us something to chew on. Give us something, because I mean, anybody that follows the disclosure from Andy or Bob Lazar or anybody that seems to be a credible person over the years, there's more than what they're talking about. There almost has to be some sort of a secret space program, whether it's outside of NASA or whether it's involved with NASA, or who knows. Maybe NASA is just the public image that they want to portray to everybody else, but there's got to be something more there. And I feel like they could give us enough to chew on where it didn't, send everybody into mass chaos right away, where you could still have some time to take it all in.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. The more the better. But, I think that even if they do give us more than we've gotten, obviously a little bit more, but it's not going to satiate us at all. I mean, if I had a nickel for every time they made this big announcement on NASA, we found out something on Mars. It's very important. And it turns out to be they found water again. It's like, if I had a nickel for every time they found water on Mars, I'd be a millionaire. It's like, what are they trying to condition us for? We're conditioned enough. I mean, 20 or 25 years of ancient aliens has really primed us to know the truth. So don't give us half truths. Don't give us partial truths. Give us the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
I'm more worried they're going to tiptoe into something like, oh, we just found the first multicellular organism on Mars. It's just going to be something very tiptoed in. That's what I'm more worried about. I do want something significant.
Yeah, and then if they do that, if they're anything like they used to be, they'll come out a couple days later and say, we think it might be a bacterium that was on the craft from Earth, so we're backpedaling on our life thing.
Yeah, it could be cross-contamination. It might be our fault.
Because they did find life in the first landers on Mars in the 70s. What was it? The Viking lander. There was two of them. And it scooped up some sand and put it in a little thing inside and analyzed it, and they found signs of life. But then the scientific community, scrutinized it. Well, maybe it didn't. It's probably something else. They just poo-pooed it. But the original scientist who discovered it, he won't let go. He's like, no. This is definitely either life or past life that was discovered in the 70s. That should have been relayed to the public, and it should have been accepted. So yeah, it's quite something else. And I can't believe they've been able to keep a lid on all this for all this time.
Well, I think that's interesting with all the other countries working to go to the moon and other places. Now all of a sudden the U.S. is getting into a rush to slowly disclose things. And I think if there's somebody on your heels, then you might be a little more, interested in acting like you got there first.
Yes. Yes, very much so. Okay. I'm going to look for something else here and try to do another screen share. Oh, here's something that floated by the space station recently. And I have a theory about what it might be. So this was caught on the live feed on the space station, just moving by slowly. I enhanced it. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay. I enhanced it so you can see a little better. I think what it might be is that Chinese rocket that was coming down to Earth, because that had not come down yet at that point. That could very well be what that thing is. But it is pretty anomalous looking, don't you think?
Oh yeah, it's like one of the rods that they describe.
Well, it sort of looks like a cylinder. You can see some like blue stripes and silver stripes. Of course, there's that one bright white area where the sun is reflecting off of it. But below that, you can see the structure of the thing. It looks cylindrical.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if that was like energy coming off of it or what that was.
No, I think that's what that is. So I think it could be like a big rocket housing, like that 21 ton rocket housing that came crashing to Earth. And I'm not exactly sure where it landed. I think it landed in the ocean. But so that was caught recently in
somewhere by Mexico or South America. It was in the water though, about the size of a 9-story building.
Wow, those poor fish, those poor fish. That's too bad for the fish, huh? I wonder if they're going to go clean it up now or just going to leave it there. I don't know.
Even if they retrieved it, they probably wouldn't tell us about it.
Yeah, they probably wouldn't.
They got other disclosure to worry about.
Yeah, what do you think about Elon Musk's rockets that land just like they took off? It's exactly how they depicted rockets being back in the 50s in science fiction movies. That's how they did it.
How one man can set up a crew that does better than the best of the US's public knowledge to put together NASA. And he did it in a short period of time. I don't know. Elon Musk is a specimen of a scientist when it comes to that. He's quite the engineer and scientist and great mind.
Yeah.
Glad we have him.
Yeah. I'm going to show you something here now. This is a model kit that came out in 1997 by testers. It's the Area S4 UFO revealed. And it's exactly like the one I saw in 1996, a year prior, over Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin, in the middle of daylight. And it looked exactly like that. And imagine my surprise when a year later this kit comes out. I'm like, wow. I got 2 of them. I mean, I had to, right?
How did you feel internally when you saw it? Did you heart stop? Like what was taking over you emotionally? Because I couldn't imagine standing in front of something like that or even seeing it far away.
Well, what happened was I was driving just outside of Chippewa Falls, going towards Minnesota from Wisconsin. And all of a sudden, I saw out of the side of my window in the sky this silver disc. And I went, holy shamoly, what's that? And I pulled my car over. It was the only car on the highway at the time. It's not a very busy highway in that part of it, in Chippewa Falls. But so I got out of my car and I'm standing there looking at this thing, right? and it's zipping, like shoo, 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 stopping and going at right angles and going very fast and stopping. And, it just freaked me out. You asked me how I felt. I felt like I wasn't supposed to see it. I felt this ookiness, this kind of, not spooky, ooky. And I don't know how else I've never felt this before, but it felt like they were moving around trying to evade my vision because I was following it, And then I remembered I had my video camera in my car. I had a Fiero. So I reached into the passenger seat and I grabbed the Sony camcorder where it has the thumb button to turn it on. I pointed it at it, got it in the sights, clicked the button, powered up, and it powered down, never took a charge after that. And then the craft went zipping at super duper speed. And I had this feeling, like this very strange, ooky feeling. And that's the only way I can describe it. Sort of like I wasn't supposed to see it, but kind of ooky, spooky ooky. So it was very, very strange. But what it did for me was it let me know that these crazy things are real. If they weren't real, I wouldn't have seen it. And so it answered that basic question, because I'd had people tell me they'd seen UFOs. I didn't believe them. And, I don't expect people to believe me because I didn't believe anybody before either. It's something you have to see for yourself. And then your mind is opened up to it a little more. Excuse me. But yeah, it was very, very strange. And on one of my shows from a long time ago, I did an animation of what this thing did. And I can't remember which one it was, one of my early shows. I'll have to dig through and figure out which one it was. But yeah, that was freaky. It was so freaky. And nobody else was there. And I had no witness with me. So I'm the crazy guy, right? I'm the guy who no one believes because I don't have a witness. I didn't get one single frame of footage. I really wish I would have gotten some footage. But, I think that, they're probably aware of that. I mean, that's probably, I have no way of knowing, but that battery had a lot of charge in it. It had, it was fully charged. I had used it previously a little bit. It was working. It never took a charge after that. I had to get a new battery. And that's never happened to me before, where a battery just won't take a charge. So, yeah.
So, when it happened, was it like, wow, it's hard to take in. That's such an interesting story. Did you feel like it was ours, or did you feel like it wasn't from this planet?
I had no idea, no inclination about anything except I felt like I wasn't supposed to see it, and this kind of ooky feeling. But it was, if you hold your arm at arm's length, it was about the length of my index finger. So to my vision, it was fairly big. It was. So if I took a ruler up to the sky, it would be about 3 or 4 inches wide. So it was very close.
Pretty big.
It was very close. I don't know how big it was because I don't know how close it was, but that's how big it was. So it was very big. I mean,
well, yeah, visually, if it's that far back in your perspective, it seems like it would be a big craft.
It could have been. I have no way of judging that. And, I wish I would have gotten the footage. That would have helped a lot. But yeah, that was one of the strangest things that's ever happened to me. And, but that's exactly what it looked like. some of Billy Meyer's photographs look a lot like that, but not exactly like it. The one I saw looked exactly like that. Now, when you ask if it's one of ours, now this is the model kit according to Bob Lazar. This is Bob Lazar's, from all of his specifications, they built this. And so this is the one he worked on, the sport model at S4 near Area 51. So, yeah, so it might be, ours now, but it's not built by us. Maybe we were flying it, but why would they fly that over Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin? I guess we don't know, do we?
So or maybe when they introduced that craft to Bob, because it seems like he went into that technology right away, that advanced technology, and reverse engineering it. And you almost wonder if maybe they would have pitched him one of ours as a test to see where he went with everything.
Mm-hmm.
But you never know, really.
Yeah. So that was my big sighting. It really changed my life. It cost a lot of friends, and people think I'm crazy, but I'm not going to deny that I actually saw something that I actually saw. No amount of peer pressure can make me lie about what I saw or what I didn't see, And, I always taught my kids about peer pressure. I always told them, be careful around the docks. Watch out for that peer pressure. Because, can be nasty. So, don't you think? So watch out for that peer pressure. Careful around the docks.
I've had plenty of experiences parking a wave runner, coming in a little too hot when I felt that peer pressure.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, no. A friend of mine, a guy I went to school with back in Mound, Minnesota, his name is Randy Ketcher. And he invented something, and he's selling it now. It's pretty cool. It's a tip-proof hammock. And he's out there back in Mound by Lake Minnetonka putting these things, and you can put them on a dock, like a dock hammock. It attaches to your dock. You can swing out, and it's got an umbrella. You can get into the sun or out of the sun. It's pretty cool. But it's impossible for them to tip. So it's pretty cool. Cool little because the hammock has been around for eons, but he improved it and made it tip proof. A little too late for Gilligan and Skipper, because they could have used that, don't you think?
I don't know. The show wouldn't have been as good without all the hammock scenes.
That's true. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, you can find a Gilligan's Island episode that pretty much pertains to almost everything, can't you?
Yeah. That and The Simpsons, I hear.
Oh, yeah.
So has a lot of conspiracies tied to it.
Yeah, what? One of the weird ones is, I'm not going to mention the date, but there was a date where something happened in a town that's known by two letters early in this year. And there was a gentleman there, I don't know, wearing a big hat with horns on it. But he is dressed just like a character on The Simpsons. Have you seen this guy? He's got brick tattoos on his arms, and he's wearing the same hat. Have you seen that?
I've seen the guy that you're referring to, but I haven't seen him. I don't know if I would refer to him as a Simpsons character.
He is a Simpsons character. Oh, you think that was photoshopped?
No, I'm talking about the guy. I think you're talking about, because there's two conspiracies I know very well about The Simpsons, and one of them is not the one I'm thinking about, but there's two-letter cities that I'm thinking about. One is NY and one is DC, and I wasn't sure which one we were talking about.
Oh, Not the NY one.
Okay. But yeah, no, I saw the real picture, and the real picture is comical enough. I haven't seen the Simpsons version.
All right. I'm looking for it right now. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, it's amazing that The Simpsons. What do you think? I mean, oh, I think it looks like someone did, it was Photoshopped, I think. Well, but this is what I was talking about. Let's see if I can get it here. Yeah, it might have been Photoshopped. So, all right, put it over here, open it up. So what's the weather like over by where you're at, Jake?
Real rainy today, but we're supposed to have a nice weekend. Supposed to get up. It's probably 80 tonight. Going to bed, humidity like 90 plus.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I sure hope the rain keeps up.
Yeah, no, we were in a bit of a drought lately, so it's good to get some rain in here. Our April showers are coming a little late.
Yeah. Yeah, I sure hope the rain keeps up. Then it won't come down, right? Okay, it's not materializing here. Okay, we'll have to go back to this way of doing it. Just drag it off of here, and I'll open it up. And you've seen a UFO, right? You talked about the UFO you saw.
Yeah, I saw some on 88 when I was driving to work one day, and it definitely confused me enough that I woke up the passenger that was in my car driving to work with me. I'm like, hey, do you see this? Like, am I freaking out right now? And we couldn't describe what it was, but at the same time, I couldn't say it was an alien craft or what it was. It just was a mysterious light in the sky that didn't look anything like a plane.
Wow. Yeah, and so no one can tell you didn't see that. You saw it, right?
Oh, exactly. And there's no convincing me otherwise. Like I have an airport about 10 minutes away from my house. We see planes going to and fro all the time, and we're used to some of the normal lights, and we even see the runway all the time. It's all lit up at night, and even some of the spotlights that they have. But at the same time, I've never seen any lights like this in the sky.
Okay.
Oh, that's hilarious. Oh.
Isn't that funny? But I also saw the same pose of the guy without the bricks on his arm. So maybe that was just someone trying to get clicks or something. But I thought it was kind of funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do the Simpsons do it? Everyone's probably seen the coming down when Trump came down the escalator and the person drops the sign and he waves like this and he waves like that. Everything was identical.
Yeah.
And then
there was a magazine with a 9 on it, and then the Twin Towers were the 11.
yeah,
And that was a really weird one.
yeah,
Yeah, there's some creepy ones.
yeah.
Killer Bees, I think, was one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, they've got quite a few, surprisingly. And I don't know if it's just because of so much content, and eventually you're going to stumble across something that lines up, or if there was actually something there, or what.
I think there was something there. I think that through Andrew's testimony, we know that they do have quantum access. Someone does. So are they using it? They could very well be using it. Project Looking Glass, CJ. Thanks, CJ. Hi, Jerry. How you doing? So, yeah. Yeah, so that's interesting. Anyway, I'm just looking at the chat here. Project Looking Glass. Yeah, that's something was mentioned by our friend, and Project Looking Glass. I don't know if Project Looking Glass is the chronovisor or something just like the chronovisor, but it sounds like the chronovisor to me, doesn't it?
Was it you, Aaron, that posted something earlier today or in the last couple days that pointed on it was interesting how fast Antifa could get dressed into Trump attire in that same town we were talking about?
Oh no, I don't think it was me, but it's something else. It's so one-sided and so lopsided and so wrong. I mean, every day they're trying to get people to say the color red is really blue, and
Yeah.
things like crazy things like this, and it just doesn't make any sense. But
When you said that, I just got the view of the movie Liar Liar when he's trying to lie about what color the pen is.
yeah, that was great. That was a great movie. Yeah, that was a great scene. Very well acted. I think he's the only guy who could have acted that
Yeah.
very much. So yeah. I'm gonna copy the Zoom again and put the oops. There we go. I'm not sure if this worked. We're not getting anybody to call in. Maybe they're shy. Well,
I had to go to the link that was on your Facebook. I
okay.
couldn't actually do it with the link that you shared on YouTube.
Oh, really? Oh,
Sorry about that. I didn't mention that.
That's okay. Well, it's I can blame somebody else here. It's only three of us here working here. Me, myself, and I. And two of them are slackers, so I'm not sure which ones the slackers. So the one on I don't know how I can get that off of there. Let's see here. Okay, I'll try this. I'm sorry, folks. Well, let's try this again. Yep. See if that link works, or if it is even turns out to be a link. It looks like it's a link. It should work.
I had a little trouble with the passcode. That was the only problem I had a problem with.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it looks like you got the right one up there now. I believe it had like a one tap attached to it. So when I highlighted it, I couldn't get it the first time. I'm not sure. I think it had a 0 attached to it, but it was actually the capital O from one tap, which was part of the link that was sent through.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. You'd hope someday that all this stuff would be a little easier, but Darlene Montoya says, "LOL, Aaron, I love your jokes." Thank you. Yeah, I am. When I was a youngster, whenever I went to the library, I looked at the joke books, and so I got a lot of jokes. But jokes are good. I mean, they make you laugh. Laughing's good for your health. We all need to laugh. You can laugh at anything you want. And jokes are fun. I like jokes, as long as they're in good taste, right? Sometimes you have to be careful about the jokes that you tell. And I had an idea for a joke. And I don't know if I've shared this or not yet on the show, but I do Elvis impersonation, Elvis shows. And several years ago, I was doing a show up on Washington Island. I live in Door County, at the tip of the peninsula, and you can go over the water and you can go over to Washington Island, and it's just like a trip into the past. So I was doing a show there at this bar restaurant, and I had this idea for a joke. And I looked at the audience. I went, I think they go for this joke, you know. So I said, I love coming up here to Washington Island up here in Door County. I love Washington Island. It's like a trip into the past. And you know, you don't have to be gay to go to Washington Island, but you do have to ride a ferry for 30 minutes. So, but they liked it. Thank goodness it was the right crowd. I hope everyone likes it here. I thought it was kind of funny.
I feel like if people know you're a joke teller, I feel like those jokes get along well. I mean, there's people like Lisa Lampanelli. Like, you can tell a dirty joke, and if it's to the right crowd and people know it's not necessarily a dirty joke, but could offend some people if they didn't know it was a joke. If they just read it literally.
Right. I think humor should be exempt from people, you know. I mean, look at what Don Rickles did. He called people hockey pucks, you know, you hockey puck, you know, and people liked it. They weren't offended. I mean, but how can you be offended by being called a hockey puck, right? That was back when you couldn't swear. So puck, you know.
What the puck?
Yeah. Well, here's one you can tell to your friends now. What word starts with F and ends with UCK? Fire truck. Fire truck. That's the word I was thinking of. How do you like that?
That's good.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one. Now, my daughter told me a joke a while back, and I thought it was pretty funny. She said, "Hey, Dad, why is it we never see elephants hiding up in trees?" And I said, "I don't know why. Why don't we see elephants hiding up in trees?" She said, "Because they're very good at it." So they're up there hiding. You just can't see them. Thank you, Rat X, for the donation. Sorry I'm late. You're not late, my friend. Anytime is a good time. Come on in. Okay.
I heard one today, Aaron, they might like.
Okay.
How much?
I couldn't hear that. What was that?
I said, how much for a chimney for your house?
How much for a chimney for your house? I don't know.
It's free. It's on the house.
Okay. Yeah, I saw a basket of old batteries that said old batteries free of charge. Free of charge.
I love a good dad.
I'm going to let CJ in. Let's see what CJ has to say. Welcome, CJ. How are you doing today?
Hey, g'day, Aaron. How are you, mate? How are you, Jake? Nice to chat with you both. I'm from down under, obviously, as you can tell with the accent. But yeah, love your show, mate, and I love all your stuff with Andrew Basagio or Basagio, however you say his surname. It's all good stuff. Yeah, love it. And I'm pretty much of a UFO researcher and all that sort of thing. I just want to ask you a question, Aaron and Jake, or whatever. What do you think about our planet being under quarantine by higher ascension ETs? Do you think they're working with Space Force? Because apparently, well, I've been reading David Wilcock and Corey Gooden-Smith and all that sort of stuff, and they're saying that the planet is under quarantine to retain or get rid of these lizard people. What are they called again? The
Draco reptilians.
Reptilians, yeah. So, what's your thoughts on that, mate?
Well, you know, I don't have any direct knowledge of any of that. It all sounds possible. You know, you always want to keep an open mind. You know, I I do like listening to, David Wilcock and Corey Good. And I think a lot of their information is good. But, I just don't know. We'll have to see, right? I mean,
sorry, I saw some video footage of missile being launched, and they got to a certain altitude, and it was like they're still trying to climb, but then they couldn't go any further, and then they deviated into a left-hand or right-hand turn, and then fell back to Earth. So I just want to know, have you seen any of those type of videos?
You mean, are you talking about like flat Earth videos, or where they think they hit the shield?
Yeah. It's like similar to those type things. Yeah.
I don't think it's hitting a ceiling. I think it's just reaching the void of space, and it makes a sound. I don't think that it's hitting anything. I think if it hit something, it would probably destroy it. If it was going that fast, like a rocket, I just don't think that that's true. I don't buy into the flat Earth theory.
Yeah, it just seems funny to me how they sort of do deviate. They get to a certain altitude, and then they do a sort of sharp right-hand or left-hand turn, and then they just fall back down to Earth. But I don't know. The videos could have been doctored, or who knows, mate. But don't know anything else. Yeah, so the time. What time over there where you are, Aaron?
Oh, it's 10:36 p.m. 10:36 p.m. in Friday night.
It's 13:35 here in Australia. I'm in Melbourne. Yeah.
It's what time?
13:35, 1:35.
1:35 in the afternoon?
Yep. Hey, firm. Yeah.
That's nice. Now, hey, maybe you've seen this guy. I saw this guy years ago. He's from Australia. He's a young guy, and he would film aliens in his backyard. Have you seen this guy? I haven't seen any of his videos in a long time.
No, I've got a lot of no, I haven't seen him. We've had a lot of anomalies going on over here, like the guy that was flying his Cessna, and he radioed back to the control tower, and then all of a sudden he just vanished out of thin air, and they, similar to something like in the Bermuda Triangle, but
wow,
they just don't know what happened to him, and he's never been found since. But I've got a lot of stuff. Do you remember a guy named Ron Garner? Garner.
No.
He worked with. He did a lot of episodes on YouTube, and he was taken down, and he got cancer, and he passed away, and he reckons his cancer was due to the black state. The deep state. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. And he did a lot with. About the guy that said that was working with Eisenhower at the time, and he died as well. He had something wrong with his liver, and he passed away as well. But I've got all that sort of stuff on my computer. I downloaded it before they took it all down. It's very, very interesting, because he said the Americans, the Second World War, the Americans won the war, but in the lower case of it, where the Nazis, they won the high-tech war, and the Americans won the low-tech, because the Nazis went into space, and the Americans just won the war on our planet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what he was saying. He was saying that Eisenhower signed a pact with Adolf Hitler that supposedly didn't die till 1963. He was in South America.
Right.
So so all very interesting, mate. And I'm sort of starting to believe that sort of stuff. But so there you go.
Yeah. Yes, lots of evidence there. Lots of evidence.
Yeah. Actually, mate, well, you talk with Thomas and Red Pill and all that, and I think Thomas is he's pretty. I think he wants to have a chat with you about see if he can you and yourself and Andrew get on his podcast and have a chat with Andrew or something like that. That's I don't know, but I don't know what that would entail, but yeah.
Well, he's free to call in, every Sunday, and that's kind of why Andrew's doing this show. Is everyone is invited to call unless it's a prankster like last time.
Oh yeah,
one prankster is calling in.
But, yeah, geez.
But yeah, Thomas can call in any Sunday that we're on, and Andy just he has to for contractual reasons and for other things that I can't mention, he can only do this show right now. So it's the only place that he's going to be doing a show for a while.
Yeah, he's 100% cognizant, that guy. He's got a memory and a half, that bloke, I tell you.
Oh man, yeah. Man, I can't remember half the things I've forgotten.
Yeah, exactly, mate. But yeah, geez, he switched on very, like, look, if he's run against Trump in the 16th presidency, mate, you've got to have some faith and truth about him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Can't be a BS artist. You know what I mean?
Right. And for him to write that 100 presidential proposals, which is an awesome read. I suggest anybody take a look at his 100 proposals that he released in 2016. Just amazing, a very insightful, very intelligent set of proposals. And, I agreed with all of them except one at the time I read them in 2016. But since then, I've come to agree with that other one, which had to do with guns. I've always been anti-gun because my nephew was murdered.
Yeah.
18.
Sorry, mate.
Yeah, it should never have happened. But, I was just anti-gun. But something Jesse Ventura said, he said that one of the reasons that Russia never invaded us on land is because our citizens own guns, and it would be a door-to-door thing that they didn't want to do. It made it too hard to take us over. So that fact changed my mind about guns. And
yeah, well, in my country, mate, like in 1996 with that massacre down in Tasmania with that guy that took out 35 people. What's his name? Geez, I can't think of his. Oh, gee.
That's okay. Anyway, yeah, there's a lot of them everywhere, and I think a lot of them are planned and programmed. And
well, that was definitely a deep state go, because straight after that, our then Prime Minister Johnny Howard, we lost all our weapons, we lost all our guns, and now we have no protection. And the same thing happened in Christchurch in New Zealand, with that massacre there. And you pull up his name. You're looking for his name, obviously. Yeah.
CJ, is that when they initiated the buyback in Australia?
Mate. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And all our weapons gone to Don't you guys in the States, because the world is relying on you people to keep your weapons, mate. Don't give them up, because we're helpless, We go to rallies and that down here, mate. We get tasered. We get everything, mate. All we can use is our fists. And that's all we've got to use, mate, as weapons, or the odd baseball, whatever, But, I look, what they're doing is what happened in the Serbian-Croatian war, mate, with Milosevic. It's neighbor killing neighbour, mate. And it's like there is a worldwide civil war, the goodies against the baddies, black hats, white hats, good versus evil, and all the rest of it, mate. We stick together.
Well, I have a suggestion for you. If you can't own a gun, when I was a youngster, I had a paper route. Back when a kid could actually have a business. They don't have them anymore, but so I would be on my bike with my papers and my paper bag delivering papers, and these dogs would follow me. They'd chase me and they wanted to bite me. So I brought a squirt gun with vinegar in it. And one squirt, and they never bothered me again. And if you're faced with someone, you can't have a gun, get a little, a super soaker with some vinegar or some other kind of liquid that, won't harm anyone, but would just
Yeah, but with what they're trying to do, and this is not only here, it's in the States, mate, we're basically communist countries at this point in time. They're telling us how far we can travel, where we can and can't go, when and where we can shop, and where's the freedom in that? They've taken away our freedom of speech. They've taken away everything. With our constitution, it's the same in the US as well. That it is a private corporation. There's no government because it's not a fair income government. It's a BS government,
Mm-hmm.
And Trump is doing what Obama did to Trump when he was president. He is the shadow president now, mate, and he's on the payback. He's the shadow president, mate, and things will be coming out sooner rather than later. I hope,
Well, maybe what can happen in your country, something that's happening here can happen in your country too, and that's where a bunch of patriots all over the country are running for office in their local communities, because enough patriots get into these government positions, we can have an effect, as long as we're not co-opted or blackmailed or, of course, these people are evil and do horrible things to you or your family unless you do things. But
well, what I think about these deep state maggots, what they are, all these wars they've started all over the world. Look, I know myriads of different ethnicities. I know I've worked with Asians, I've worked with Serbs, I've worked with a lot of Europeans. They just want to be like we all want to be, love our families, just work and be happy, and no more, nothing more, nothing less.
And different people are great, because if we were all the same, it would be boring as hell.
Exactly. Well, I worked with a lot of Chinese. I used to work with an airline, right? But I was put off because aircraft weren't flying. But I was about to retire anyway, so I actually dodged a bullet, to tell you the truth. But the Asians, the Chinese, they say, we can't believe that you guys, you whatever your mainstream media tells you, you believe. And they have an underground, like in Vietnam, there was an underground media, like there is in North Korea now. People are doing things underground, like the French resistance in World War II, mate.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we can't believe what mainstream media tells us anymore, because it's all corrupt.
Turn it off and turn on YouTube or Rumble or Twitch or DLive.
Exactly. Why do you think they made the television, mate? That's just control. That's just pure control. They control. Now they've brainwashed us. Whatever they tell us, oh yeah, I'll go get one jab, I'll get another jab. No way. But
they don't call it television programming for nothing.
Exactly, mate. And they're calling, you know, families are fighting families now with these jabs. And, you know, oh, if you get a jab, don't speak to me, or vice versa, or whatever the case may be. Everyone's fighting everybody.
Right.
It's crazy, you know. But
well, I'm living my life as a sovereign human being on planet Earth. And I believe that if we were meant to have all kinds of toxins in our body and our blood, we would have been born with those already in us. So the idea that you can get health from outside of your body, I just don't.
That's mate. Look. If this keeps going, I'll tell you what I'm going to do, mate. I'm going to go into the scrub, become a recluse, and live with all my koala mates up in the eucalyptus tree, bro. That's what I'm going to do.
Yep. They'll all think that we're Bigfoots, but we'll actually be people living in the woods, right?
Yeah, it's crazy, mate. Like all I've got 2 kids, and I love them dearly, and that's all we want. You know, we want everyone to be happy, have joyful times, live a good life, or as best you can. None of this, you know, like the poor North Koreans, they have to go to China to see if they can get food into the country so they can stop themselves from being starved. And that's a law. And then if they get caught, they're executed because they're trying to feed themselves. You know, this is the crap of the world at the moment, mate.
Well, you know, only at the precipice will people find the will to change. Only when you've reached the precipice will people find the will to change. And, you know, yeah, that might be what it takes, just, you know, living in the wild. But then what, are they going to come and hunt us? You know, I mean, they've already made anyone who has any kind of feeling of freedom to be the enemy, which I just find really hard to grasp why that is, but it seems to be systematic. Now, when this whole thing rolled out, and I'm not going to mention it, but it looks like a ball with a bunch of things poking out of it, but you can't really see it. I was working part-time for a website company that made websites for towns and cities and municipalities. And, you know, so I was like a tech guy for this company. So I'd get calls from these clerks and they'd say, oh, can you put this up on our website? Oh, this is new restrictions for playgrounds, or new restrictions for we can't use the pool all summer, and all these things. And all of the stuff that we had to post was all pre-printed, pre-done. It was all orchestrated. I could see it from the beginning, and I was kind of horrified. I went, oh my God. And we had I think we're in like 40 states. So, but the ones in New York were like getting it harsher sooner than the rest of them. And it was just interesting to watch how coordinated that whole thing was.
All government figures in our government, the Five Eyes, you know, Canada, you guys, New Zealand, they're all Masons, mate. They are all Masons, mate, and they're all corrupt, and they're not even a government. They're a private corporation. In 1973, a Prime Minister, Gough Whitlam, he wanted to get us out of Vietnam. We've been in every war with you guys, by the way, including, believe it or not, the American Civil War, 1861 war. One of the Confederate ships came to Melbourne in the port of Williamstown and docked when the ironclad ships came out, right?
Wow.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know this, but it's true. You can look it up on Wikipedia, wherever you want to do the search. 43 Australians, mercenaries, I guess you call them, because they went on back to the United States. I think it was in April. I think the Civil War finished in June or June or April in 1965. Sorry, 1865, correct? And they went back. They didn't fight for long, but it was 43 Australians went back and fought for the Confederates. So instead of the Northerners, and this ironclad was the first ship of its type, made out of steel, and and took out a lot of ships on the way coming to Australia. And then they went back, and then soon after the Civil War ended. But we've been in every war with you guys. Yeah.
Wow.
Mate. Yeah. But our
You're kind of fading in and out. I'm not. Maybe you could get closer to the mic.
Okay, is that better? Or
Yeah, I can hear you now.
oh, okay, sorry. Yeah, our Prime Minister during the Vietnam War, Gough Whitlam, he wanted to change our government constitution. So he got the Queen out. She came out. He wanted her to sign documentation to say that they wanted to change our government, but the Queen said no. But she said, I will sign that I have viewed the documentation. So when she left, he still used her signature to change the Australian government. So, our constitution, it's a private load of corporation. It's not a constitution. It's not a government. They can't tell us what to do or do anything. But the cops here, they're corrupt as all hell as well, So,
maybe what needs to happen is people need to get together and write their own constitutions and start their own thing separate from that. The American Constitution is only 4 pages long. And I went to school in America my whole life. We never read the whole thing. Why not? Why didn't a teacher ever teach that? Seems pretty important.
Yes. Well, I from what I know now, everything when I was at school was all corrupt, mate. It's all BS. What I learned, what I know now, and I just hope a lot of the sheep can sort of catch on, because we can't afford to fight against our family and friends, and we have to help each other out. That's the main thing, mate. So yeah. Anyway, Aaron, I'll love you and leave you, mate, and I'll catch you later, Jake. Nice chatting, and I'll shoot off, and I've got some stuff to do. So take care, all right?
Thank
CJ,
you very much, CJ. Thanks, CJ. Call again. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, ciao.
Hey, CJ, before you go, are you still there?
Yeah.
I was gonna say, since we're talking about investing in weapons, with you living in Australia, I think you need to invest in Elon Musk's flamethrower with it raining spiders in Australia. You've got quite the wilderness to battle out there as well.
Mate, when I was a kid, I used to make. Have you ever heard the term called Shanghais? Yeah, they're made with rubber bands, and it's like a sort of U-shaped thing. You put a ball bearing in it you make a little leather pouch, and you pull it back and let them fly. Yeah,
like our version of a slingshot. Okay.
Correct. Yeah, very similar. But yeah, like even your native North Americans, the Indians, they were the good people. When I was a kid, we used to play cowboys and Indians, right? And when I was a kid, we used to call them cowboys and itchy bums, for the Indians, right? That's how we used to play, because they were the bad guys. But now it's the same as our native Indigenous Aboriginal Australians. It's the same thing. They are lovers of the land. They don't want to fight. They love the land. They in tune with the whole land, like your native Indians,
Yeah.
But when I was brought up, I used to watch Rin Tin Tin and all that sort of stuff, Yo Rinny and all this crap and that. But they were supposed to be the good guys. But it's the native American Indians and Aboriginals and all that Indigenous people in other countries as well. they were the good guys. But and it peeved me off to think I was always going against the Indians, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, guys, yeah. All right, will you take care, guys, and see you soon. Cheers.
Thanks,
Cheers.
CJ. Take care. All right.
Cheers.
It's good to hear from someone down under. Crikey. Very cool. Yeah, they got a cool accent. It's kind of like English, but a little more outbackish, right?
Yes, it's very it just makes you smile when you hear it.
Yeah,
Same
yeah.
like an authentic European accent or a UK accent. There's just something about when I hear Russell Brand talk or certain people with like a very thick accent. It's just it's not comical. It's just it's cool to see something different like that performed a different way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I have some English friends too, and I just love that English accent too. Very, very, very fun. I want to mention to Rat X, say Rat, we talked earlier today, and I did a little research, and you might be interested to hear some of this. So if you can call in, I think it'd be fun. You kind of gave a challenge to me, and I took you up on it. So feel free to call in, and we'll discuss that. And everyone else is going to wonder what the heck I'm talking about. That'll be fun to reveal it. So yeah. Yeah, call in, Radix, and Jake just wrote that. Thanks, Jake. Social like
when he was talking about the dome over the earth, there's a lot of people that get confused, I think, with the flat earth conspiracy, and I think there's a lot of like fake science around it. I think the number one thing that I can tell people to look into that will make you go, oh, this can't be real, is there's a experiment that they say the flat earth scientists have done where you measure the curvature of the earth by the claims that they make is this English channel that you can see over a mile or something to the end, and you don't see the point at the end lower than it should be. So that's their claim, that the surface is flat and it doesn't fit the curvature of science. But then if you look into the actual experiment they did, they can't recreate it. So it's actually not a proven experiment. It's actually not based on any fact. And that was the one thing that right away just turned me off of the whole flat earth, or trying to explain the sky, trying to explain the other planets or the moon or anything like that. And when you start trying to have to say, oh, well, that's an image put in the sky by, it gets down a really deep rabbit hole at that point, and it's just impossible to explain.
Right. You can't wrap your head around it. It's just too unbelievable. The mental gymnastics you have to go through to make their logic work. It just, they have an answer to every opposing view, but it's just not, it doesn't seem like it seems very forced. Like here's the flat earth, and the sun just goes around like this to different spots. Well, you'd be able to see that from any point. It would never be nighttime anywhere if that was the case. Oh, but the sun's like a flashlight. Oh, now you're saying the sun's a flashlight. Oh, wow.
Yeah, no, I got dove into this by a buddy, and he was totally into it. The sun is apparently not as big as we think it is. It's a hovering thing that circles this plate that we live on. And even when I looked into it more, even the quotes that people take out of the Bible to claim that the earth is flat and it's sitting on pillars is even taken out of context. You can't even find a specific Bible reference where they state that as well. So it's a lot of old misconceptions, and that's just been pushed for a long period of time, and it seems to be having a revive now with the internet. So I don't know. It's not something I feel people can get lost in it, and it's not something healthy to get lost in.
Right. I agree. I'm trying to find my flat dog theory meme that I made. I can't seem to find it. Something's wrong with my thing, but yeah, it's good to hear from a guy from. Now there was a gentleman from Australia, I think around 2007. Oh, here's something. The Battle of LA, right? We were talking about that earlier, the Battle of LA. Okay, I got two pictures here that I want to show you. All right, so let's do this. Share screen. Thank you all for watching. We have 17 watching again. That number seems to be popping up a lot. So here is the very famous picture, of course, that we've all seen of one of the many craft that were seen that night in 1942 over LA, the Battle of LA. And you can see all kinds of bombs going up. 1,500 rounds of anti-aircraft missiles they shot at this thing. 6 people died because of the shrapnel. They never even altered the course of the thing. But there were many of them, hundreds, maybe thousands of them. But this is the one they always show. And they got it on video too. Now I took this image and I reversed it out and I did a little contrast with it. And let me show you what it looks like. When it's all contrasted out. That's what I got. So that looks like it's the shape of it, okay? Because it's the brightest part of the whole picture. So I just adjusted the contrast until that was all you could see. So what do you think about that?
That's pretty interesting because you actually get an outline from that.
Yeah. Yeah. Now,
makes you wonder what those other dots are as well, because even before you enhanced it, there was other dots around. It makes you wonder if that's fire or what that is that it's reflecting off of.
I think, and I'm going to do a side by side here. I'm just doing a quick screenshot of this, and I'll put that up so you can see them side by side. Those 3 dots above it are the 3 brightest dots in the picture. There are other dots, but so I'll show you that, both of them. Again here. Oh, oops. I guess I have to get it. There it is.
I think Radx is waiting in the queue.
Oh, is he? Okay. Hold on a second. I'll be right there. It's not opening. It's not working. Okay, let me get back to letting Radx in. Oh, there it is. Now I see it. Now it comes. Let me see. Okay, I'm sorry. It's hard for me to do 2 things at the same time. Oh, there it is. Okay. All right, here it is. Now I can get to Rat. What do you think about that? Now, do you see it?
Yeah. It's interesting how so those 3 dots that are in the simultaneous same spots, how some of those after you altered it stayed and some of them didn't, because there seems like there's dots scattered all over.
Right. But those three are the brightest.
Okay.
So that's why they remained, and they're a little smaller. But yeah, I was mainly focusing on the outline of the craft. I wanted to get that. So that's the way that turned out. Okay, I have to stop sharing in order to get Rat in here. There he is. And it's the ultra neutral himself, Mr. Ultra Neutral. Now, he doesn't take sides. He's Mr. Neutral, okay? So get used to that. He's just trying to wake people up to the time hack that he's discovered. How 1972, things that happened in 1972 came into play in 2020. It's a 48-year span. Okay. Are you there, Rat? He's right. He's connecting his audio. Okay. Rat X. Cool name. Of course, 1972 was the year of the rat, too. Right? I think Rat X told me that.
I think Radix is also I've heard of that term as like a memory forget pill, like to like retcon somebody or to
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Hey, how you guys doing?
Great, and thank you for your donations. Very well appreciated.
I haven't given you enough. More coming. More coming.
I always want my shows to be free, and I'm not begging for anything. And if you can't afford something, don't do it. But if you have some extra money and you want to throw it my way, give me a cup of coffee. That's fine. Helps me.
Yeah, I think it's worth it. So I enjoy your content. I like listening to what you got to say.
Thanks. Now, we talked this afternoon, and we're talking about 1972 and 2020, how things happened in 72 that affected 2020. Anthony Fauci started his job in 1972, and of course in 2020 it was very well known. But I said, well, I'm not sure if there's a time hack, because a lot of things can happen in a year. Maybe someone could take 2 other years and see if they find the same correlations. And you said, well, no one's taken me up on that. So I did, Rat.
Okay, let's hear it.
Okay. So I thought, well, what year should I pick? And I thought, well, why don't I go 48 years prior to 1972? And we got 1924. Okay. So in 1924, Ace Hardware started.
Mm-hmm. So
Era-
how would Ace Hardware be a historical event?
I don't know. I only had a chance to research a couple of these.
Yeah, because see,
find out the
somebody
connection.
told.
I did find one of them. I did find a connection. All right, I just wanted to go through this list of things.
Okay, because somebody told me about Hobby Lobby 1972, and I said, yeah, that's cool, but it's not a historical event.
Right.
Because Hobby Lobby was founded.
Okay, I'll skip down to the fourth one. British Airways started in 1924. Okay.
Mhm.
In 1976, we had the biggest, the most tragic air accident in British Airways history, even today. 119 people died in 1972. So there's a connection.
Mm-hmm.
Crashed shortly after takeoff. I haven't had a whole lot of time to. Oh, here's one. Now, what sports figure were we talking about? What did I mention? We were talking about football. What sports person did I mention?
I think you said Joe Namath, didn't you?
Yeah. I got a Joe Namath one for you.
Okay.
In 1924, now this doesn't have anything to do with Joe Namath, but sort of. It does actually. 1924, Puma started, a shoe manufacturer. I think it's a German company, Puma.
Mm-hmm.
Puma, however you want to say it. Okay. In 1972, Joe Namath was in an ad, a famous ad for Pumas. Joe Namath scores. So, and Puma also were the shoes worn by 4 different gold medalists in the Munich Olympics. So.
Oh, okay, yeah, we're the 1972 Munich Olympics, that terrorist act that happened changed the Olympics forever. It was a historical thing that happened. Not only was it a historical thing because of the terrorist event, but it also was a historical event because of the previous time that they had the Olympics there was under Hitler's rule. So it was actually dubbed in 1972 that Olympics as a collection of peace or something to do with some type of peace. And just so happens there was a group called the Black September, and they kidnapped 11 Israelis and murdered them. So September 11th. So the Black September murdered 11 people in 1972, which was the same year that the first Twin Tower was created. And it was a historical event because it was the tallest tower in the world that year. So what are the odds that those things, we're talking massive historical events. We're talking we're not talking like small things. Like when you're talking about Joe Namath, I mean, in 1972, what did he do that was really like a historical thing for the sport itself? When I say in football history, if you look at football history, 1972 was the only time in history that there was an undefeated football team, and that was the Miami Dolphins, which incidentally was the same year that they passed the Marine Mammal Protection Act. I mean, it's just these things are so intertwined. And the Lakers, the LA Lakers for basketball, had the longest streak in NBA history. That was in 1972. And Bob Douglas became the first Black man to be elected into the Basketball Hall of Fame in 1972. Why did it take that long for them to realize that Black people were good at basketball? That just doesn't make any sense. These things don't make sense. That's what I'm saying. There's so many historical things that were crammed in one year. It just doesn't even make sense. I'm saying that these things did not happen in that one year, that they happened throughout different years. But because they're all pushed in one year, it makes it suspect that something else happened there. Bernice Greer was the first female umpire ever in professional baseball history to play in a men's league. So the first woman to play in a men's baseball league was in 1972. It's just bizarre. Like, the sports itself, if you look up the greatest year in Canadian history, it says 1972, and it talks about their freaking their hockey team. It's like all the sports were even affected, and obviously the Olympics was affected because they said after the Munich attack, the Olympics changed forever. Like the security changed at that very moment. After the terrorist attacks that were happening in 1972, pre-1972, actually during 1972, you literally could get on a plane without any identification and without them checking your bags. You could just get on the freaking plane. You say, here's my money, and you get on the plane. You could get on there with hand grenades, which actually happened. And they just get in there and do whatever and hijack the planes. There were so many hijackings in 1972. It was absurd. After 1972, actually towards the end of 1972, they changed the laws for the FFA changed. And they said, we're going to start checking people's IDs. We're going to start checking their bags. So they waited till 1972 to do that. That's another thing that just doesn't make sense. These are major historical things that are happening in 1972. Major. We're not talking light. We're talking major.
Right.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Now, going back 48 years before 1972, so I was thinking, okay, I'll just pick this and maybe it'll debunk him. And as I was looking at it, this might actually reinforce him, because if there's connections, it might be a 48-year cycle each time. I mean, maybe that's what they do. So in France, in 1924 was the very first Winter Olympics, another Olympic thing in 1924. Now, like I said, I didn't have a chance to look at Winter Olympics in 1972, but you just mentioned one Olympic event in 1972. Maybe it wasn't.
But since we're talking about winter, and I don't want to cut you off, but I want to go back to, because we're talking about winter. Everybody knows the story about the plane that crashed in the Andes where people were actually eating the bodies. There was a big major movie called Alive. Almost everybody knows that movie. That happened in the year 1972. Now, let me tell you something. In 1972, when that plane that went down, it was the number was 571. That was the plane. It was the same number of the plane that Netanyahu became famous on when he stopped on a different plane, but the same plane number, 571, where he became famous in 1972 because he stopped a terrorist attack when he was on a special Israeli forces. Now, if you take all of that and the fact of 9/11, or the fact of the tower being built in 1972, what was the number of the plane that hit the tower? In reverse, 175. I mean, these things are major. We're not talking small. We're talking world-changing events. We can agree that all of those things are world-changing events. The Olympics, the tower, the whole thing, even with the cannibalism that happened there, that was a huge thing. And there was a guy, his name was Hale Boggs, and Hale Boggs was we talked about this before. He was the House Majority Leader. He'd be considered like Chuck Schumer or what the hell is the other guy's name? But anyhow, he disappeared in a plane going over in Alaska, and they like don't talk about that at all. Like they don't talk about it. He was the House Majority Leader, and he just disappeared in a plane in 1972 in a Cessna. Wow. The plane went down, they found the plane, and all of the bodies were gone. There was nobody there, and the government does not talk about this. If Chuck Schumer, or what's the other guy's name? God dang it. Mitch McConnell. If Chuck Schumer and Mitch McConnell disappeared right now today in a plane, it would be major news. We can agree on that. That would be major. That happened in the year 1972, and it got quiet. All they talk about was his wife took his place when he disappeared. No bodies, nothing.
Has to be an inside job or something, right?
Yeah, but you look at it and you put it with all of the other stuff in the box, man. There's a ton of it. You know, there's just a bunch. I mean, just like I just ran through the sports, and then we just went on to aviation, which, by the way, 1972 was dubbed the worst year in commercial aviation history. I mean, it's bizarre. It should not even be possible for all those things to add up in that year. And it's the same. Go ahead.
And the British Airways, 119 people, worst accident in their history, 1972. And they started in 1924, 48 years earlier.
Yeah, that makes sense. That may be a connection there. Like you're saying, you know, it could be a 48-year thing. Every 48 years, there's something that happens in the timeline. And I don't care what people say that, you know, all these people that believe that they're experts on timelines. It's like, well, you show me evidence that you can actually time travel, whatever. You know, look, we're talking about stuff that is beyond most people's understanding, period. And screwing with the timeline is one of those things. People all speculate, but screwing with the timeline is not. I just it's absurd. And you when you look at the evidence, and you heard me talking about this today, and I said I'm getting tired of telling people. I'm getting tired of sharing the evidence because it's like it's not getting through. But it's getting through. It's like it's all right there. Like there's so much of it. Man, I am over 80 events, 80 major changing events in 1972. Hell, even just like cell phones. Cell phones were invented in 1973, which means 1972 was the last year on this planet there were no cell phones. So 1972 was the last year that we were cell phone clear. After that, 1973 was when the first mobile phone was created. And I know you're talking about Elvis and his phone back in 60, what was it? Was it 63?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
And
different than the mobile phone,
a
though.
bag phone. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now,
And when you look at cell phones, and I don't want to cut you off, but when you look at cell phones, one of the biggest cell phones is iPhone. Isn't that from Microsoft? I mean, that's Bill Gates. His first company was
iPhone is Apple.
Okay. Oh, okay.
And I have an iPhone, and my daughter gave it to me.
Apple. Yeah, go ahead.
And I'm not so versed on technology. So I went on, and they have these things called apps. You put an app on it. So I got the Google app, and it said it's going to turn my iPhone into a Google iPhone. But I can't see anywhere where it's a Google iPhone. Let's see. Yeah, that's my Google eye joke. Now, Delta Airlines also started in 1924. Let me just go down this list of things in 1924.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
See if anything kind of lines up. Ace Hardware, Aris, formerly Electrolux Vacuums, Bendix, they make auto brakes, British Airwaves, we talked about that. BTR, British Multinational Industrial Conglomerate, that sounds suspicious. An air conditioning company, Daikin, started then. Delta Airlines started. MG Cars started that year. Milwaukee Electrical Corporation, MCA, Music and Film, started that year, 1924. Puma Shoes, Tomy Toys in Japan, big toy company. Total SA Petroleum, that's Super America. Ventura Bus Line, Woolworths. Also, in 1924, they passed the Indian Citizenship Act, where American Indians didn't have to give up their Indian citizenship to become an American citizen. It was the first year, the electrocardiogram was invented, and the inventor won the Nobel Peace, some big prize. The first Thanksgiving Day parade in Macy's in New York, 1924. And I'm sure there might have been some Macy's Day Parade event that happened in 1872. I didn't check that. The first Winter Olympics. Edwin Hubble. Okay. He said that the Andromedan Nebula. He discovered that the Andromedan Nebula is actually a galaxy. So he made that discovery. And of course, we know Hubble.
Hubble telescope, yeah.
Right. In the USA, the first dawn to dusk transcontinental flight. Let's see. And Winter Olympics. First USA Army airplane made the first round the world flight in 1924. And let's see. Hoof and mouth disease started or was noticed in 1924. There's a disease, hoof and mouth. And Lenin died in Russia, and Stalin began his bid for leadership in 1924. So I was surprised at how many things and this is just a small list. Of the things that happened, and I'd only dug into a couple of them, like the Puma shoes and the British Airways, but yeah, it might be actually corroborating your concept here about a time hack. But so I thought you'd be interested to hear some of that stuff.
Yeah, I will look into those, and I will definitely look at that and see if it. Like I said, it has to be, and there are some things there you said that were historic events. Every year has freaking historic events. I'm not taking that away.
Right.
I'm not saying that years don't have historic events. The reason why I focus on 1972 is because you would not be on the cell phone or on your computer at all without 1972. ARPA became DARPA in 1972. Bill Gates got his first company in 1972. The first AI robot was decommissioned in 1972. There's just so much stuff. ARPANET was in 1972, which became the internet.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're talking, like, when I say about the stuff in 1972, and like people say, you know, there's a lot of historical things in a lot of years. I agree. I've never said that that's not possible.
Right.
I'm saying that everything that is shaping your world right now, you can research it back to the year 1972 to have either a beginning or an ending. In other words, it's not something that is a continuous thing. It either began in that year or it literally stopped in that year. And then when I started noticing in 2020, there was things that either began or ended in 1972. They started all over again or ended in 2020. I was like, I thought for sure, I'm like, we're in a simulation. I'm like, because this is like a computer having a malfunction. I'm like, this doesn't even make any sense. You know, I was like, there's too many things that began or ended in 1972, and then the opposite of it literally happened last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said, I didn't have enough time to connect all these to see if they did connect, but
I will do the research on it.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I'll do the research on it. I tell people all the time, it's not that go ahead. I'm sorry.
So maybe maybe you stumbled on something that might not be a time hack, but maybe it's some kind of natural cycle that things just kind of come to fruition after 48 years. Maybe that's some kind of divine cycle or something. Who knows? You know?
Okay, so in 20, it's not like so there are people out there who just do research on stuff, right? They just go and do research. Like they're trying to look for some type of conspiracy. This ain't even a conspiracy. First of all, a lot of people, they want to attach all these conspiracies and stuff to it. I'm like, this isn't a freaking conspiracy, guys. Anybody can look it up. You know, it's not something that's being hidden. It's right there. You know, all the facts are right there. But what happened to me in 2017 was the reason why I saw these things. It wasn't that I just started looking them up.
Right.
Like it after 2017, and I've put up the evidence on my channel. I show people in 2020, first thing video I showed, I thought that literally when I put up the video of the alien evidence of the footprints going into my karate school when I was sleeping, and the marks that were on the wall, I thought that the government was just going to come and wipe me out. I thought, okay, this is it. So I held on to the information. I held on to the video for 3 years. Didn't talk about it. I covered it up because I didn't want people to, you know, because I have a 4th degree in Kempo. I have a 4th degree in Taekwondo, and I have a black belt in a sword fighting art. And I've been on a television show in Japan and got a 10.4 rating. I have gotten a proclamation from the mayor of the city. And I can show proof of all this. I've been in front page newspaper many times as a community leader from my martial arts school that I own and I run. So and my ex-wife at the time was state champion. I had a lot of students that were state champions. Like, I was very popular in the area. So to say, look, there was a alien that come walking in my school when I was sleeping, you know, people are just going to say, you know, that guy's crazy, and they're going to take their kids or take themselves out of my school and go someplace else. So I kept it quiet for 3 years. Mm-hmm. You know, I was just quiet about it, but it just got to the point where I could not, like, I kept seeing all these things and they were just connecting because my mind was unlocked. And I was just like, how do people not see this? And I was talking to, you know, people who were close to me, and I was explaining to them, trying to make them understand it. And I was like, they're not getting it. And I'm just like, so I just put it up there online. I literally thought something was happening. Now, looking back in 2017, that was when Oumuamua came here from the Lyra constellation. And now that's all of a sudden a big deal. And looking back in 2017, all in the same year when the alien came to me in my school, in 2017, that's when Lou Elizondo or whatever decided to leave the government, and he was going to out all this information. In 2017, that's when they first started showing they released the videos of the Navy actually came out and said, yes, there are. And people can say, you know, oh, well, you know, that's not good enough information. I don't care. I literally don't care. You weren't in my karate school and had an alien come in there and come there and unlock your mind. So it doesn't matter, because the veil is going to lift. like that. I mean, it's about to lift this year. And when it does, everybody's going to start to see very clearly what has happened. And they're going to talk about this time hack. I don't care what anybody thinks or what they say. They had to do this because 48 years ago, there was still problems when the aliens were out in the public. And people will think that's crazy, but you know, our government has been doing mind control for a very long time. In fact, what was that program? MK Ultra. They ended the funding for MK Ultra in the year 1972. Now, people say, well, it doesn't mean they quit doing it. I agree. The government's not going to put a lot of research into something, a lot of money. We're talking millions of dollars into something and just stop because they get caught. It's just like the Tuskegee thing. They got caught, so they say, hey, we stopped. In 1972, they got caught for weather warfare over in Vietnam. And that was Operation Popeye, which was chemtrails. I mean, guys, it's the stuff that happened in 1972 is major. We're not talking small. We have people today still complaining about chemtrails. Well, go back to 1972 and look at it. You know, that's when it was outed. There was a huge protest, it actually at the Capitol, about, of all things too, over the chemtrails that they were doing in Vietnam.
Yeah. Wow. Well, Radex, I think that you need to keep pressing on because you've got a new subscriber tonight. And that's Terry Hopper. Radex, I just subscribed to your channel. This is really interesting, and I feel you're onto something in your research. So don't give up. Keep going. Everything always takes longer than you think it's going to take.
Yeah, I just want to, I want to help the humans understand what has happened to you. I am not trying to, and like when you said earlier about, you know, you're not begging for donations. It's not about that, man. I am more than I'm more than happy to donate to channels. I don't ask for donations. I don't sell information. I don't put myself out there. I don't talk. I don't use my full name. I don't do any of those things because it's not about me. It's about the human race. It's about you guys. That's the reason why I push ultra neutral. If I was telling you that I had an alien come to me and I chose a political side and I said, hey, I'm a hardcore Democrat, or hey, I'm a hardcore Republican, and you are the opposing side to that, you would say, well, what the hell these aliens you got talking to you, bro? What are they going to do with us then? You know what I mean? I'm telling you, I have been neutral my entire life, being biracial, being raised by a lesbian woman who hated men. You know, when I say I'm neutral to all races, all genders, all cultures. I speak not fluently, but I speak close to 8 different languages loosely. You know, Korean, Chinese, Japanese. In fact, if you want to say good morning in Ohio, in Japanese, it's real easy because it's Ohio. If you want to say it correct, if you want to say it formally, you say Ohio gozaimasu. Yes. Yeah. So, and you know that because you lived in Japan. Didn't you?
No. Konnichiwa.
Oh, okay.
Konbanwa.
Yeah, konbanwa. Yeah. So, and in Russian, if you want to say hello, it's privyet. You know, so I love all the cultures. Yeah. And I don't have any bias towards anybody. And when you have a hard stance on something, I respect that. If you have a hard stance on that, you're a hardcore Trump supporter, I respect your passion and I respect what you believe, because that is your free will to do. If you are on the other side, I respect that. There are people who are racist and they literally hate me from one side or the other. They like, because you're too black or you're not black enough. And I respect that. I have to respect other humans, their free will and what they want to believe, but I do not want to suppress them and tell them what they're supposed to believe. And this is one of the reasons why I think that I was actually chosen, which this has done nothing for me but make me poor, run everybody away from me, you know, but is to give the message, which is a neutral message to help unlock people's minds. And like I said, I have a video where I show all the stuff that happened in 2017. And I know people are going to say, oh, the Draconians are evil. How do you know? You ever met one? When you see when you see gargoyles over top of buildings that are these statues that are put up there, that sit up there, that are to ward off you know, evil from coming and trying to get into your castle or your homestead, What do you think a gargoyle looks like? It looks like a draconian. I mean, it's like people just, you don't really understand the things that we're talking about unless you actually can. This has happened with the Black people. It's happened with the Asian people in Vietnam. It's happened with the Native Americans here that they called Indians, that they called the red man, the yellow man, the black man. And now it's going to turn into, let's hate the green man. The problem is you guys need to understand the beings that you're about to face. If you think that you're going to be able to fight them with your AR-15s or with whatever, or jets or anything like that, they can literally shut this whole thing down like that. They can shut it down. And I'm telling you, they time hacked. And if they can time hack, they can do it all over again. If people don't realize that we don't get into a neutral position when these beings come out, and I'm not saying it, look, if there's beings that are come out and they're going to try to suppress us, yes, we fight. We fight to survive, because all this other crap about being a Democrat or Republican or black or white, all that's going to go away. You need to start on it now, because if there are beings that are going to come here and they're going to suppress us, yes, we have to fight to try to survive. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You said something that I don't believe. You said that your real name isn't RadX. I don't believe that.
1972 was the year. 1972 was the year of the rat, and I picked X because it was Generation X. So that's how I got the name RadX.
And now you get the RadX Files, which I think is a cool name too. RadX Files.
RadX Files. Thank you.
And you know, I've told you this, but you know, in high school, I had a car, my first drivable car, 1960 Rambler, which they painted flames and lightning bolts on. It was black, had dingle balls, and it was a crazy old Rambler. But it was nicknamed the Ratmobile, and I was known as the Rat Man. So I like that name, RadX. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. When the time comes when I start making everything about me, and it's just like, look at me and look what I've discovered and look what I'm doing for the humans and look what all. When I get to that point, everybody just turn me off and go the other way. It literally, this has done me a lot of stress. It's not easy to try to help unlock other people's minds so that way they can just start. What I want people to do is I want them to ask questions, to just say, how is this, like the whole thing, remember with the $1972? I'm still putting it out there. Anybody can produce a $1972, a paper dollar that was created in the year 1972. If it's not worth more than $48, I will pay you $48 for that $1 bill, because they do not exist. Because in 1971, Richard Nixon left the gold standard and went to a legal tender only. That happened in 1971. However, the first year that we were completely off the gold standard was in 1972, because in 1971, there was still dollars out there that still said that there were silver certificates or redeemable in gold coin. In 1972, that never happened. And the currency even changed in 1972. However, we can't even find the dollars. We can find 1973, 1974. We can see 1971, 1970, and so forth. But the year 1972 is like the currency didn't even exist. And I want people to ask questions. Why can't I find that dollar? People should be going nuts trying to figure out, why does the dollar not exist in 1972? What happened? You know, it's all of these things, even CERN itself, right? Like, because, you know, CERN, you guys all know what CERN is, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so in 1972, CERN had an unexplained event that happened in 1972. The machine's intensity went up by over 1,000 times in the year 1972. They don't even know why it happened. Just they've been trying to get funding for the Large Hadron Collider over in Switzerland, France. But that, and you can look up the documents, because I have all the documents on it. Anybody can look it up. They were trying to get that deal to go through with France and Switzerland to build the Large Hadron Collider. They were turned down every single time. After 1972, when there was a 1,000 time intensity spike that they couldn't explain, all of a sudden, boom, they got the freaking contract for the Large Hadron Collider. And we know that led to the Higgs boson particle being discovered in 2012. In the name Higgs, the guy who created the internet, his name was Higginbotham. And CERN, the last guy to step on the moon was Jack Cernan, CERN. I mean, it's weird, man. It's bizarre. Even Stephen Hawking. Stephen Hawking's 1972. He published his paper on black hole event horizon theory in the year 1972. I mean, it's everybody that you know that's major, pretty much. They all can. It's like all their roots go to that one year.
There's a new discovery about the engine that drives black holes that just came out this year. So that's interesting. And I just, as you were talking about the dollar bill, I remembered something, because I remembered something else I told you about. It was something that Nixon did. But this is something else. I used to collect coins. And I remembered, wait a minute, 1972. Let me show you this. Let me show you this.
No, I know that there's coins out there. I'm saying paper
no,
dollars.
No.
Oh, okay.
No,
I'm sorry.
This is something different. I'll show you.
Okay.
Let me show you here. Because like I said, I collected coins. And so I remembered this as you were talking. There was a double die in 1972. And I had a bunch of them. And because my mom had some 1955 double dies that she said she spent right away.
I can't see it on my screen. What is it?
It's okay. It's a vintage 1972 penny worth $1,200 because it's double stamped. There's a double die line around the edge. It's like they stamped it and they said, "Oh, bring it back. We'll stamp it again." They stamped it again. And
is it 1972?
Yes, it is.
And it's worth over $1,000.
So one says, 1972 vintage penny, 1,200.
Jesus.
Another one says
$500.
5,000. Another one for 999. So yeah, very interesting.
We're gonna come rob your change drawer.
No, I don't know what happened to them.
Okay.
I thought I saved them, but maybe I didn't. I don't know.
Now, see the coins you can find online too, the 1972, but
Right.
the paper money does not exist.
Yes, but double dyeing of a penny or any coin is very rare. So this is a rare occurrence. I mean, like I said, the only other time I remember from my knowing about coin collecting was 1955. So from 1955 to 1972, I think that was the only two that I can remember.
Aaron, don't they do that for a lot of misprints? They all out of value for like a double print or anything like that.
You mean like a dollar bill?
Well, no, also on coins. I've seen double stamped coins where they offer a good amount of money for trading, and that'll be like two images, not stacked on top of each other like the ones in the display, but maybe next to each other, or any kind of misprint is pretty highly valued.
Yeah, well, double dyeing doesn't really happen. It's very, very rare. And like I said, the only two times I can remember. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, someone in the chat. Can you see the pennies there?
Yeah.
Jake? Okay. Yeah. When you were talking, Rad, I was just remembered that I did notice that when I was a kid, and I just did a quick search, and turns out, sadly, I was right. And another thing I should have.
Okay, I can see it now. Sorry, I had to refresh my screen on my computer. I'm talking on my phone, and I got my computer going on it.
Okay, it's kind of hard to see the double dye. It's only on the edge, whereas the 55, you can see the whole thing was double dyed. But
yeah, no. Ask yourself this though: like you found that on the internet, but you can't find freaking paper dollars on the internet from 1972. You can't even find it. Somebody find me one, because I've been trying to get at least a picture of one to put it on one of my freaking videos, but you can't find it.
And you'll give someone $48, right?
Yeah, if they have a 1972 $1 bill, I will buy that dollar from you for $48 if it's not worth more. If it's worth more, I don't want to rip anybody off. You know, it's not my nature. But if you find one that's a $1972, then I will buy it off you for $48.
Okay. Now, Kelly George in the chat says, maybe, just maybe, if you know someone who was born in 1972, they might have a dollar bill in their baby book.
Oh, that
Go to
could be
garage,
possible.
garage sales, maybe.
Yeah, I don't think they exist, but if somebody can find one, the challenge is out there. Anyhow, I'm gonna have to get off here pretty soon, but I wanted to tell anybody who's listening about what happened at the Serpent Mound last weekend.
Yeah, that was interesting. Yeah.
So when I tell you that what happened with me in 2017 with the draconian alien coming to me when I was sleeping, unlocking my mind, there is literally video evidence of the footprints there and marks on the wall. And I put a challenge out on that too. I said, recreate those prints because they were double layered. It was just weird. The whole thing was weird. The prints on the floor were double layered. There was like this film on the bottom of the footprint, and then around it was the dirt. So it was like it was double layered. And the marks on the wall were they were like a triple layer. They had that film at the very base of it, and then it had like this weird this muddy type. It wasn't mud though. It was like this weird, it's hard to explain. But inside of it was, and that was like a gold, like a greenish brown, like dirt or something. But it wasn't really, it wasn't dirt. And then inside of it was this gold fleckled dust inside of it. So after all that happened, and with everything that I've been exposed about the time hack in 2020, somebody came on my channel and invited me out to Utah because they said that they teleported on their land from one point to another. And I said, and I at first I didn't really believe what she was saying. I was just like, I mean, I'm not saying I didn't believe. I just kind of was like, well, it's a possibility. Anything's a possibility, but I need more evidence. However, within a week, there was a bunch of things that were coming up that were telling me, things just kept coming to me and coming to me and telling me that I need to go to this place. Now, I just came back from Alcor in Scottsdale, Arizona, like 2 weeks ago, and I didn't have the money to even really go out there. And I had to take more time off work. So it was an inconvenience for me. And it was just not the right time. But I literally was guided to go there. And I said, if I go there, I need to be there for 72 hours because I will find the portal. And we went out there, and you guys can listen to the whole video on that. I got all that stuff on there. The lady, when I first got out there, was 3 of us. There was me, there was 1010, and a lady out there that invited us out there. When I got there, I automatically knew that she wasn't who she said she was. I can't tell you guys everything, and I can't tell you guys how I know things. But I knew that she was not who she said she was. And that all revealed itself at the end because it got really hairy at the end. And you already know that because I did the thing with you and we talked about that on here. So yeah. I'm going to make this short. So anyhow, 72 hours later, I found the portal. I found where there's a portal. And actually, I didn't tell you this before, but when our hands were on that stone, on this big rock, that I said, this is the portal. I felt like the rock was going to fall over. And I told Tintin, I said, and I told her and the other lady, the gatekeeper, I said, stop pushing on, it's going to fall over. But I really wasn't thinking about how big this thing is. No way it's going to fall over. Literally, I felt like I was falling into the stone. And I told Tintin, I backed up and I said, you are the navigator, find the way in. And she immediately pulled out her phone and she looked at it, and there was the Alcor star right in the center of that stone. Now that's 1,000,000,001 odds that would happen at that very moment. And we didn't try looking for the star constellation at all the entire time. And at that very moment I said it, there's the Alcor star constellation. Now, fast forward up to what happened last week. I was compelled to go out to, I kept putting off going to Serpent Mound many, many times. And I recorded the whole thing, my whole trip out there with my Truth Quest. I have Truth Quest 172. And I go out there and on my way out there, it was apparent to me as things were happening that it was 72 degrees out. I was trying to find a gas pump because I was empty, and I ended up on pump 1. And you can watch me drive around trying to get to a pump, and there's one where it was open, pump 1. I put the gas in, the thing shuts off at $72. That fills up my tank. I had to take route 71 to 72 to get to the Serpent Mound. And so I was like thinking maybe, and I was like, I'll be there about 2 o'clock. I'm like, maybe I should be there at 2:17. So I was trying to rush to get there now to make it at 2:17 because I'm like, this is one of those things. And that's exactly what happened. So I get to the mound and I'm looking up in the sky for the Alcor constellation because I watched Ancient Aliens and they said that the Alcor star lines up with the Serpent Mound. Now remember, I'm connected to this star. So I am looking for it. I'm looking around. I can't find it. And it happens to be over to the east. But as I take my phone with the Skyview app and I look down, the freaking Serpent constellation is lined up on the mound, which means, and a lot of people don't understand this, and this is going to become a big talked about thing because the people at the people who were the who run the Serpent Mound there, when I told them about this, they're like, they had no idea that this is possible because anytime somebody looks for a constellation, they look up. You don't look through the earth. You just don't look down. But where they say serpents are in under the ground, well, on the mounds, through the ground to the other side of the planet, if you're looking directly up in the sky, you're going to see the Serpent constellation. It lined up on that mound. It's absolutely impossible for the ancients who had no knowledge of where the stars were on the other side of the planet to create that mound right there on that point. And it was exactly the time I said I had to be there. Also, at that very moment at 2:17, like just, I think it wasn't exactly at 2:17, it was like a few minutes afterwards, there was a lady that was there who had dragon green eyes. She was born in 1972 and her husband was Native American. He was Shawnee. And they both came and they had both came up to me. Nobody else talked to me other said one other guy who was there who was a healer, a spirit healer. And I told them that we need to look at 2:17, we need to look in the direction of where the Alcor star system is. And what happens like a few minutes after that, we hear a sonic boom and we thought for sure that there was a UFO. But what it was like an F-15 or F-16, whatever. It was a military jet that literally, and you guys can see this on the video, it circled us over the Serpent Mound. We thought it just went past and we're like, oh my, I was like, this thing is circling us. And they're like, yeah, it is circling us. The military thought something was going to happen. Trust me when I tell you guys, they are watching what I'm doing. They know about the Draconian coming to me. They sent me out to Utah to find the portal. And when I started broadcasting and saying I was going to go to the Serpent Mound, they were on it. They were like, is something going to, is the Draconians going to pop up? They are getting, guys, look, when people are like poo-pooing the disclosure that's coming out, the military doesn't disclose. They're not giving you guys all this information on aliens and UFOs and stuff because they just want to. They're being forced to do it. The military and the governments around the world are being forced to give up the information because they know the veil is going to lift this year. And you guys can see all of that stuff on video. And like I said, it's impossible for them to see that Serpent constellation through the mound, through the earth, and then to build it on that. It's insane. So I went back, and I'm going to cut this off here in a minute, but I went back the second day, which I wasn't supposed to. I was supposed to be going back to work because this is a 4.5 hour drive away from where I work at. But I was like, I'm going to go there and prove a point. And the point was going to be that when I get there at the Serpent Mound at 10 o'clock in the morning, that the Serpent constellation was not going to line up on that mount, proving that the app's not faulty. And in fact, I asked the lady at the thing that was there, and she said, yeah, that she knows about that app. But when I get there, the gates were closed and I couldn't get in. I was just about to leave, and I'm filming it too because I was telling people, I can't, it's somewhere over in that direction, but I can't see. And I was just about to leave, and the site manager shows up 2 hours early from work, catching me right at the moment I'm about to leave, and says, you can have the place to yourself. You're not supposed to be here, because I told her a story. She said, come on in and go ahead and do your research, and you're not even supposed to be here. And I filmed that too. I go in there, I go to the Serpent Mound, and I look, and no, the serpent is not on the mound. The rabbit constellation is on the mound, and then down the steps leading to the mound, the serpent is right down there, which meant that by 2 o'clock that day, in the next 4 hours, that serpent will make its way up the steps and right to that freaking mound, right where the rabbit is, and right on the mountain. And that is absolutely impossible for the agents to be able to know that constellation would run through the ground, on the other side of Earth to come up there. It's insane.
Wow. Yeah, that is amazing. The serpent, the Alcor star the serpent was under the mound, meaning on the other side of the Earth. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Yeah, I was going to make a point, but I forgot. When you're talking, you're so engaging. It's easy to lose your thought because you're listening so intently. So that's why I think you should continue with your shows. I think it's a great thing. So welcome, Tara. Thanks for coming on board there. We see you. And let's see.
Okay, sorry.
Hi, guys. Go ahead.
I do want to point this out because this is also very important. There was a guy who was there at that very moment when I was at the Serpent Mound, who was out there with this healing bowl and like all this and these crystals and stuff. And he came all the way from Cambodia. Yep. Mm-hmm. And you can see the video. There are tons of people who walk by me. Nobody stops. Nobody cares. The only three people that talk to me is the lady with the dragon green eyes who was born in 1972, the Native American was Shawnee, and then this guy who is from Cambodia, who is a spirit healer. And I told him, I was like, do you know that the moment that you're out here doing this bowl and you're asking for the serpent to heal the world and heal everybody and all this stuff, that the serpent constellation is lined up on this mound? And he said, no. And I said, yeah. And I said, look, here it is. And I showed him on my phone, and his wife came over and her eyes started to tear up because it was a sign for them. Like this was huge for them and their beliefs. And he was like, and when he saw that, it empowered him to actually go and walk onto the mountain. You're not supposed to go on the mountain. You're not allowed to go on it. But he went on the mountain, and he went all the way around the mountain, and he put crystals in the mountain. He did a whole like spiritual ritual thing, which I'm not really into a lot of different spiritual stuff, but this thing actually, that moment changed me. It definitely changed me because I really wasn't really into the stuff, but it's just like, how is it possible that this guy came all the way from Cambodia and like, it's a billion and one odds with all of this stuff. It's too much. It's overwhelming. And when I'm explaining people about these things, I show evidence. And it's not just one thing on the Serpent Mount. It's also the Utah, which you already know that because you went through the story, which I was more than grateful that you let me come on, and me and Tintin come on and talk about that story because yeah, it's crazy. But at least, I also have other people who were at a lot of the events and stuff that can say, hey, yeah, this has happened. And there's a lot more stuff, guys. I can't share everything with you, but there has been so much stuff that has changed for me in the last 3 years. And for some weird reason, now I know that I'm 100% connected to the Alcor star, which, by the way, means the forgotten one. I mean, so it's not all that great, but there's been so many things. Like I've had people say to me, and are you manifesting things? Are you making things happen? Because I'll say something and all of a sudden something will happen. And I don't believe that at all. I used to explain it as maybe we're in a simulation and I'm just remembering things that you guys aren't, and then I'm able to say it's happening before it's happening. But I don't know all the stuff that's completely happened to me and what the alien did to me. But I do know I never felt threatened. I do know that it's changed me in a positive direction, but a very stressful direction, very, very stressful, because I am stressed out for the human race. And I am stressed out to the point to where I get to where I just want to give up. But then it's just like, it's not in my nature being a martial artist and sticking things out. And it's just not in my nature. And another thing too, when I want to bring up real fast, and I desperately got to go because I'm at work here, but I do want to bring up another thing too. When you look at martial arts comes from China. I mean, people are going to say, well, it comes from India, but whatever. You know, I mean, that's where martial arts was flourished and became a big deal, because they said that some guy from India came and shared it with them, which is also very peculiar. Somebody from India, when India didn't really have a martial arts. So who was this guy from India? He wasn't a guy. I don't believe he was just a guy from India. I think he was from the Draco constellation. Dragon, that's the big thing in martial arts. The dragon has always been known to be wisdom. The dragon has always been known to be because you have all the animals in Kung Fu, you know, and the top of the animals is the dragon. It's the opposite. It's like it embodies all of the animals and it gives you all of the wisdom. And dragon, we equate that with Draco. So what do you have here? You have a country that has the smallest people, like the Asian, especially Chinese, they're small people. And the only reason that they've been able to hold on, you know, back in, you know, before pre-gunpowder and everything, was because they had the martial arts. They were always going to be overpowered by almost anybody. But the martial arts, when I teach martial arts, I don't want big jacked up knuckleheads coming in there talking about MMA. I want people coming in who literally are at a disadvantage and are believe that they're getting bullied, or, you know, or worried that something could happen to them in some kind of way, that they're at a disadvantage, because we give them the tools and the means and the education to be able to overcome the odds. And that is the root of martial arts. The root of martial arts is not to fight in a cage. And I'm not dumping on cage fighters. The root of martial arts is not to do tournaments. And I'm not dumping on that either, because, you know, like I said, I have, you know, state champions in my school, as well as I've met and know Superfoot Bill Wallace, and I can show you pictures of me in Superfoot as well. But that's what the roots of martial arts is. It is to give you the tools, and that comes from the dragon. And people can say whatever they want, but I mean, I'm coming from a perspective of an instructor and somebody who's dealt with a draconian.
Now, go ahead. Go ahead.
Sorry,
Jake.
Radix, no, that's awesome. I think the main component in mixed martial arts that people overlook is self-defense, and I think that's one of the main key components. I also consider myself a mixed martial artist. Different practices than yourself, but yeah, no, I think it's awesome that you were talking about the serpent and the flying serpent. I was just recently talking to somebody about that, and I don't necessarily think the serpent should be classified as a negative thing that it's gotten from Christianity. And I just thought it was awesome, your view on it, and getting to hear that.
No, I appreciate it, man. That's people like you who have questions, or who are open-minded, trying to understand things. That's all we can do, is try to understand things, you know, instead of just going with what's popular to say. And like I said, I am not dumping on mixed martial arts. Those guys are phenomenal athletes. And they also prove to mixed martial artists that you can be jacked up and still do a lot of cool ass martial arts moves. Because before that, everybody said you have too much muscles, you wouldn't be able to perform those moves. And now, because of mixed martial arts, we know that that's not true. So mixed martial arts has had some really good impact on the martial arts world, because it's made people say, hey, I don't have to stop getting big muscles to train in martial arts. I can continue to do that. I mean, if you just look at Bolo Young, you could see how big jacked up he was. And, you know, and Bruce Lee, you know, he died in 73, and, you know, but anyhow, you know, there's just, I try to keep it positive, and I'm just trying to get people to realize what's happening to them. And everything I present has evidence. Everybody can look it up. It's all backed up by proof, not just eyewitness accounts of things, but actually seeing evidence of things that happen, you know, not just stories, evidence. That is all that matters. If I'm just giving you a line of crap, I'm wasting my time. I don't need to. I was very popular with everything else that I was doing. This has made me unpopular. You know, I used to be an actor. I was a bodybuilder. You know, I've done some commercials. Like I said, you know, I was on Japanese television. Before that, I was a pro skater. I won the Warped Tour, and I should have won the Warped Tour in 2001. I skated when Alien Ant Farm and Sum 41 was there. By the way, you know, you know, I have videos and documentations of all of this stuff of what type of person I was, the type of personality. This has changed my life, and it's put me in a direction to just serve the humans, and that's it. I've removed myself from what I was doing, and I've done nothing but focus on this. And I don't know any much more that I can do than what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned martial arts, and it's not just fighting. The one show that I used to watch as a kid, and I don't know, might have been 72. I don't know what year it was Kung Fu with David Carradine.
Kung Fu. I knew you was going to say Kung Fu.
That was a great show because he was a very peaceful man. The only time he fought was when he had to. And
he was ultra neutral.
He would find herbs and roots to eat. He never killed an animal to eat. He ate roots and plants and things.
Always walked barefoot.
Yeah.
Never wore shoes.
Very cool guy. And but now I know karate, jujitsu, and 6 other Japanese words. So I think that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, so, and this is not me patting myself on the back, but for anybody who's listening, anyone can learn martial arts. And I've been telling people this for a very long time. There was a guy who came into my school, and he was in a wheelchair, and half of his body is paralyzed. The other half works. No senseis in the area around Cleveland area would teach him. They said he cannot be taught. They let him down easy and say, sorry, we can't teach you. I took him on it. I asked him, I said, can you lift your arm this way? He said, yes. I said, can you lift your leg that way? I said, yes. I said, here's your white belt. You're now a student. And his caregiver, her eyes teared up. And she's just like, you're going to teach him? I said, why wouldn't I teach him? If I was in a wheelchair, I would want to learn how to defend myself. I said, yes, he can use this arm and that foot, and I'm going to teach him, because I had to learn as a teacher how to teach him. And that's what's important. And because of that, he stayed with me, and I'm still teaching him. I teach him every Wednesday. He's been with me for almost 5 years. We were down I got proof of this too. We were honored. Him and I were honored together downtown Cleveland at a closed event where there was where 2 baseball players for the Indians were there who were honored. A player from the Browns was honored, and somebody from the hockey was honored. And they honored him, and they honored me as his sensei for the termination and keep going. And he was a brown belt at the time, working to get his black belt. And it was a beautiful thing. And they gave him a big award. And I think there was a radio station there that was asking me some questions. And I think Fox 8 News was there. So then when he got his black belt, because of what happened there, Gerard Cherry, who is, I think, 3-time Super Bowl champion from the New England Patriots. By the way, guys, I have pictures and proof of me standing next to Gerard Cherry with my student who's in the wheelchair, getting his black belt, with another student of mine who's amazing, phenomenal martial artist who got his black belt that day too, and he's legally blind. And Gerard Cherry came to witness his black belt test, and he's Super Bowl champ. He didn't have to do that, but he came to come and witness it. And in that day, actually, iHeartRadio called me, and I did a big interview on there too. Now, everything that I'm telling you guys, I have 100% proof of who I am and what I was doing. And all of that stopped because of what's going on with the draconian and my mind being unlocked. Now, ask yourself, why would I walk away from all of this stuff? Well, I mean, I still teach Scott, the guy in the wheelchair, and I still teach my one black belt, but he teaches all the rest of the school because I just don't have time. Why would I walk away from all of that stuff to just be ridiculed, laughed at, poo-pooed on, told, being misdirected, now 100% the eye of Sauron from the government is focused on me hard, and they do not leave me alone. They're all over me all the freaking time with a lot of stuff. I'm literally every day, it's like, is this going to be the last day? And I'm dealing with that all because of what happened in 2017, and all because I'm trying to push something of positive and trying to help lift the veil in a positive direction. And I'm not telling anybody that, hey, if the veil lives and aliens come here and they want to suppress you, to just give in. I don't believe that at all. I say, if that's going to happen, fight. but I damn sure don't think it's draconians, because why in the hell would they unlock my mind? And for me, of all people, somebody who is a very compassionate person, somebody who doesn't kill animals, somebody who will swerve if there's a butterfly, if it lungs on like getting in a car accident, somebody who, the closest person to me has autism. Why would they come to me and not some asshole jerk that is the opposite of that? Somebody who likes to hurt people, to inflict pain, somebody who's cruel, somebody who's going to try to suppress you and tell you to join, one cause. I'm not saying any of that. So why in the hell would they come to me? Because I would be the counterproductive for what they would want if they had evil intentions. So, and that's why I say about the dragon and about martial arts and all that. So we need to step back and we need to take a look at what's really going on, because, and I do need to get off here, but
right.
Because for in history, they looked at, the Native American, when they came here, they called them savages. They said all kinds of nasty things about them. They made crazy cartoons about them. They made in front of them. They said that they're bad people. And now look where we are today. We don't look at them like that. The same thing happened with the black mammy and calling black people, porch monkeys and monkeys and all that. And now look where we're at today. I mean, there's still racism and hatred, but there's a lot less of it now.
Yes.
And it's because of, over time, we realized that the people that we were afraid of, that we didn't know very well, then, over time, we started realizing, hey, we made mistakes, but how much damage was done to get there? And the same thing with Vietnam. And if you guys don't really know how bad the things happened in Vietnam, look up 1972 Winter Soldier. Just go watch the 1972 Winter Soldier movie. It changed Vietnam history, because that was when, in that year, in 1972, they exposed, soldiers came out and exposed all the war crimes they're doing. They're talking about they stabbed women in the breast and gutted them all the way up. Okay.
We don't need to get into the gore. I don't want to get.
All right. So, but what I'm saying is, you guys get the point. We hated the red man. We hated the black man. We hated the yellow man. Now, what is the green man? I mean, come on. We need to take a step back first and see what we're dealing with before we get into this, listening to what the mainstream is saying. Oh, yeah, the reptilians are running the government. Well, if they're running the government, then why are they getting people prepared to fight them? That don't make any damn sense. That's idiocy. They would be trying to go the opposite way. So anyhow, I do got to get off here. I got to get some sleep.
All right. Thanks, Rat. Yeah, we're going to close this up pretty soon too, but thanks for calling in. I really appreciate it and look forward to talking to you again. And everyone go sign up to his channel. What's it called again?
RATX172. RATX172.
RATX172. I'll write that in the thing.
And I appreciate everybody listening and being open-minded. And literally, guys, I'm doing everything I'm doing for you guys. It's not self-gratification at all. It's literally for you, for all of the humans to try to understand what's happening. It's for all of you.
And you know how you can tell when someone is an agent is they never donate. So if someone's donating, they're probably not an agent. So this is going to make all the agents want to donate to you. So you'll be able to find them backwards.
Yeah, I don't take donations. I don't everything's on my own dime, my own time. And that's it's like I said, I'm doing as much as I can for everybody else. I don't, and I don't tell people to like, share, and subscribe on my channel either. But I tell people to come on your channel and donate, like, share, and subscribe, because I support your channel in that way.
Thank you. Well, and
I don't think it's a bad thing.
I think people should sign up to your channel too. So go over there and sign up.
All right, guys. Good night. It was,
all right.
Thanks for having me.
Rex. Thanks for calling.
Good night, Rex.
Yep, take care, guys.
All right. Bye. Well, Jacob. Wow, he sure can say a lot in a short period of time. He's quite a guy with a lot of ambition and drive, and very, very interesting. What'd you think of all that?
I've got 100 questions for Red X right now. I was trying to sit patiently and let him get his message out. I'm curious to if he has ever seen the footage of some of the old Charlie Chaplin footage with people raising their arms, looking like they were using cell phones. I also was curious to with the 48-year correlation, if it has anything to do with our military advancement. And more than anything, at the end of it, when he was talking about his mixed martial arts experience and training other people, I related to that really well. I teach my students how to in wrestling, and some jujitsu, not so much these days, but in most wrestling, we teach wrestlers how to wrestle with a blind opponent, and you have to keep constant contact. There's a certain set of rules, and it's just interesting to see how people will count out somebody with a disability, like they can't do mixed martial arts. And it's good to see other coaches in mixed martial arts doing the same thing.
Awesome. That's very awesome. Well, folks, it's getting kind of late here. It's after midnight here, so I think we're gonna wrap it up. Thank you so much, Jacob, for calling in. Thank you, everyone in the chat. You guys were great. And I thank you, Dark Brain, for putting the link there for RadX's channel. I also put a link further up, if you scroll up, the episode of Truth Quest where RatX and 1010 were on. So check that out too. High energy guy, and he is a ninja, and he's like built. He's like a pretty amazing guy. Well, Jacob, I wish you luck on your next show. Everyone sign up for Jacob Waters too. And we'll all be seeing you later the next time we broadcast. Remember, Sundays, 3 to 5 Central, 4 to 6 Eastern, with Andrew D. Bashago, The Quest for Truth. That's Andy's show, and I'm the moderator. And it's pretty exciting. He gives another proof every time for Project Pegasus. So we're anxious to find out what the next proof is. I always love talking to Andy. He's an American hero, truth hero. And so is everybody in the audience, everyone who called in today. So thank you very much. Have a great evening. Keep looking up, keep looking at the stars, and peace in.